Racing in America, a dynamic mix of technology, competition, and history. This year marks the beginning of the second century of American racing. The sport has always been immensely popular. The Vanderbilt Cup races in New York at the turn of the century drew gigantic crowds. As the new sport evolved, heroes emerged. The drivers, the human element inside the cockpits, the men who piloted the machines. 1911, a new racing facility in Indianapolis staged the ultimate test of man and technology, a 500-mile race. An automobile engineer for the Marmon Corporation, Ray Haroon, won the race in his company's car and was an instant hero to the large crowd. The Indianapolis 500 rapidly grew to become the premier event in American auto racing. The speeds increased. Enormous crowds came to see thrilling competition amongst drivers who grew to legendary status. A race driver's career, then as now, would be defined by his performance at Indianapolis.
There's an accident in the front straightaway. Where's Boyd? I don't know whether he can get through or not. He's only got a couple hundred yards to go, but where is he? There he is! A.J. Boyd will win the Indianapolis 500 in an incredible, thrilling finish.
And the 500 has been defined by the skill of the drivers.
Over the roar of the engine, you can hear the 400,000 people going hoarse. No one has ever seen this before in Indianapolis. Not quite over. John Buck still with the lead. There you see them. Can he make a move at the finish? He's making a move. No, not quite. Well, John has won the Indianapolis 500. He won it by less than a car length.
The cheers are for those who accept the danger with daring, those who strive for the ultimate victory.
Fittipaldi comes inside Little Al. A drag race on the backside again. Slower traffic moves to the right. Can Fittipaldi get past? Little Al brings it down low. They touch. Little Al into the wall. Fittipaldi continues on. Little Al slams the wall as Emerson Fittipaldi screams toward the white flag.
Unser and Fittipaldi struggled again last Sunday and fell short. Both failed to qualify for today's race, leaving this event a wide-open competition. An antique silver cup carries the name and likeness of the great Indy champions. Two men in particular have come so close to their dream, but have yet to win the great race.
They make the turn for home now. On the main stretch, Scott Goodyear closes in. Goodyear tries it, but no.
I believe that's the closest finish in Indy history.
Al Unser Jr. is a winner at the Indianapolis 500.
Scott Goodyear finished second in that race, but today he starts on the front row with his best chance to add his name to the list of champions.
The green flag is back out, and Rick Mears comes around John Andretti. He's no factor whatsoever, but Michael is right there with him. Michael moving to the outside. Can he keep in the high groove? He did it at Phoenix. Can he do it here? Michael Andretti takes the lead away from Rick Mears. Wow!
But it was Rick who won that thrilling duel in '91. Now more than ever, Michael Andretti, whose famous father Mario won the race only once, would like to carve his own name on the silver cup. Arie Luyendyk has already won here. He and teammate Scott Brayton are the two fastest qualifiers with the most powerful cars. If they prove reliable, they may be unbeatable. 100 years ago, America's first ever automobile race. The spectators followed the two racing cars on foot. Today, 33 drivers will pilot their race cars at speeds over 240 miles an hour in front of 500,000 people. A new face and name will be added to the old Silver Cup. A new champion of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500.
From the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, ABC's Wide World of Sports is proud to present live coverage of the 79th running of this great race. Since 5 a.m., the largest crowd for a single-day sporting event in the world has been filing into this historic track. The cars very shortly will be moving into their positions on the main straightaway. There's the pole sitter, Scott Brayton's car. Also coming out will be the remainder of the front row, his teammate, Arie Luyendyk. They both have Menard power. And with Honda power on the outside of the front row will be Scott Goodyear. None of these three drivers are regulars in the series. The drivers at this moment are back in Gasoline Alley, that garage area situated inside the track. Let's begin with that front row and pole sitter Scott Brayton.
Well, Paul, for over 2 weeks, this man and his father, Lee, have enjoyed the spotlight reserved only for the Indy pole position winner. But in a little less than 1 hour, that honor will be all but forgotten as Scott Brayton pursues a lifelong dream, a trip to Indianapolis Victory Lane.
Sharing the spotlight with Scott, his teammate Ari Lyondike with his wife Mika. They're familiar with the emotions of this countdown. Remember, Ari won this race 1990, third time to be a front row starter. He's been terrifically fast all month long. Now he wants to be fast for 500 final miles.
A year ago, Canadian Scott Goodyear struggled to qualify here in Indianapolis. Today, he starts from the outside of row 1. On Thursday, his redesigned Honda engine logged the fastest laps during the final practice. If he can duplicate that effort today, this first-year team will certainly have reason to celebrate.
Well, this is truly a 500 of first. That front row is the first ever to average over 230 miles an hour. The slowest qualifier in today's field, Eliseo Salazar, at 225, would have been in 6th position or outside the second row in last year's race. Why the speed? Why the close competition? Well, there are several reasons. The fastest cars are all using engines that have yet to prove their dependability. 2 Menards and a Honda make up the front row. The Menard has never finished a full 500 miles, and the Honda has never started this race. And for the first time since 1974, there are 2 competing tire manufacturers. That has added a new dimension to the race and is most likely the reason for the quick speeds. The combination of all means the most competitive field ever and predicts some very close racing. Add to all of that today's weather forecast, which includes thunderstorms, and that may play a part in the final outcome today. Now, one of the biggest racing stories of the month has been that Penske Racing has failed to qualify after 26 years of top 10 starts here. Team Penske came to the Speedway as the favorite, just off back-to-back series wins. Almost immediately became apparent the Penske chassis just wasn't fast enough. They failed to qualify the first weekend. Then they leased a Renard, but failed to get it up to speed. Then they borrowed a Lola from Bobby Rahal. Emerson Fittipaldi was practicing in that car, and even with Bobby Rahal's help, they couldn't get it going quite fast enough. For 3 days, the Indiana skies opened up, robbing them of test time. On the 3rd day of trials, Fittipaldi ran 3 laps at a speed that would have made the race, but the team thought that it wouldn't hold up, and Roger Penske waved it off. Now, it was Fittipaldi out to take a qualifying run on the final day, but he was bumped by Stefan Johansson. A stunned Fittipaldi would be a spectator. So would Al Unser Jr. In the last of 3 tries, he simply was not fast enough. Now that means that Al Unser Jr. is not racing today. The first time ever for a defending champion who has tried and then failed to make the field. It leaves the field with only 3 former winners and no former multiple winners. Closer to these stories now, we can get with Sam Posey. Sam, the Penske absence may have a consequence far beyond today's race.
Well, clearly missing the race, Paul, was a devastating blow. What went wrong? Roger declined to be interviewed today, but what we know is this. In one stroke, the aura of Penske invincibility has been shattered, and it's hard to believe that his relationship with his sponsors will ever be quite the same again. Although Roger will win again, and I, for one, hope it soon, the myth is dead, and IndyCar racing seems changed somehow now that Penske is just another team. Jack?
Sam, the Ilmore Mercedes is also in the field, as well as the engine of choice, the Ford Cosworth. But the reliability that Paul questioned about the Buick V6-based Menard V6 on the pole sitter's car, well, Team Menard sat this car on the pole with this engine and continued the development work that started all the way back when the car finished in 3rd place back in 1992. They feel now that they not only have the muscle, but the reliability to complete the 500 miles here at Indy. Gary?
Jack Firestone is back in IndyCar racing with 8 cars in the 33-car field, including 1 in the front row. They've had terrific success in qualifying, and because of that success, Goodyear came up with an optional tire made available in the final practice just last Thursday. They think it's softer, stickier, more grip, and faster, and they think that all of their teams, before the 500 miles is over today, will be switching to this optional tire. Jerry?
One of 3 former winners in today's field is Ohio native Bobby Rahal, who starts the car he also co-owns from the outside of row 7. Now, Rahal is a master race day strategist and should be a factor today, given his experience, in contrast to the overall youth of this wide-open field. Bobby?
Well, everything we've heard means that this will be the most competitive race ever. Just think, almost every driver getting into their car today thinks that they really have a chance to win. It's so wide open, I think even I would have a chance to win this one. But seriously, the winner could come from any row, with the pit strategies playing a very important part. This one, I guarantee, is going to be really exciting. Paul?
Well, Bobby, the clock is counting now as we take a look at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, its long straightaways and its 4 turns. We'll be taking closer looks as the day goes on. With 40 minutes to go now, let's take a look at turn 1. Some think that the best seats in the speedway are right here, the southwest turn. There the fans get the best look at the leader on the start of the race itself. In 1992, Mario and Michael Andretti charged around Eddie Cheever and began a battle for the lead as the fans in that first turn stood and cheered for the first 20 laps. So at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we're close to a start. We'll be back.
He has won more races in the history of NASCAR. Genuine Chevrolet. And cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place.
A new attraction here at the Speedway, the Indy Fan Fest, just inside the second turn. Lots to do there. Now, the sun is shining on parts of the track right now. The weather today calls for scattered thunder showers, but they say we may be able to get the entire race in. The temperature may go up to 80 degrees. Now, let's introduce you to the 33 starters. This year, we've broken the field down into 3 groups based on their experience in this race. And consider this, no driver in the field today was driving 15 years ago in 1980. As we go through the field, we'll see what some of them were doing back then.
The first group is drivers in their first or second year at the Brickyard. Rookie Gil de Ferran is from Brazil. He'll drive the yellow number 8 for Jim Hall Racing. His mentor is world champion Jackie Stewart, who has helped promote his career. The only Fittipaldi in the field is Christian, Emerson's nephew. This Brazilian rookie drives for Derek Walker after 3 years in Formula One. 15 years ago, he was 9, and with the help of his driver, Father Wilson, he was already winning races. Carlos Guerrero is a 37-year-old rookie from Mexico. Much of his 26 years of racing experience comes from go-karts. He started driving open-wheel racers just 6 years ago. The fastest rookie ever at Indianapolis is Brazil's Andre Ribeiro, teammate to front-row driver Scott Goodyear. He is one of Steve Horn's 2 Tasman entries powered by a Honda. In 1980, he was 14 and making his first visit to the United States. Eliseo Salazar is the first driver ever from Chile. His racing background has him well prepared for Indy. By 1980, he already had 6 years of racing experience, racing first in Chile, then in England on his way to Formula One. The last of the 6 rookies is Alessandro Zampedri of Italy, driving for football great Walter Payton and Dale Coyne. 15 years ago, at age 11, he was racing for real, but racing in go-karts. After missing the race the past 2 years, Belgium Eric Bachelard returns to drive his second Indy 500, also for Peyton Coyne. Mexico's Adrian Fernandez is back for his second year with Rick Gallus Racing. The 30-year-old has 13 years of racing experience, starting in Formula V. Mauricio Gugelmin is from Brazil. Last year as a rookie, he finished 11th. His background is Formula One. He was the Brazilian national go-kart champion at age 17. Brian Herta is in his second year. He was injured at Toronto last year, but struggled back to start driving again, only to be re-injured after qualifying for today's race. But the young man from Southfield, Michigan, who began racing in 1982, will start 33rd in his backup car. 3 years ago, Hideshi Masuda was a reporter at this race for Japanese television. Last year, he crashed while running 7th just before the halfway. In 1980, he was not yet driving, living a more traditional role in Kawasaki, Japan. Scott Sharp comes from a racing family, too. His father was a successful road racer. Last year, he finished 16th. This year, he drives for A.J. Foyt. Last year's Rookie of the Year was Jack Villeneuve. He started 4th and finished 2nd. Today, he starts 5th, driving again for Barry Green. Since last year, he's scored 2 IndyCar wins. As a freckled-faced 9-year-old in 1980, he already had years of racing experience.
A lifelong dream about to be realized for Andre Ribeiro. The emotions of this moment, Andre.
It's incredible, so difficult to say. This month has been so good that now it's just a dream come true.
We hope it's a good, safe day for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Jerry?
Christian Fittipaldi, experienced as a driver with 3 years in Formula One, yet your first ever oval track super speedway race today. What advice have you gotten from famous Uncle Emo?
I think he taught me a lot this past 2 weeks, and I'm sure that with all his advices, I'm very well prepared for the race now. Let's get the show rolling, and let's see if that's true, right?
Emerson, what are the emotions as race time draws near and knowing you will not compete today?
Well, Jerry, it's very, very difficult to come back here after 11 years and not be able to compete, but I'm looking for next year. Marlboro Team Penske will be coming strong back again here, and then I race together with Christian next year, and I wish him all the best. I'm sure it's going to be a great race. We're going to enjoy the race today. He's going to do a good race.
Two-time winner, always a gentleman. Jack?
Jack, second place last year, your rookie year. What did you learn from that run that you can apply to this Indy 500?
Well, from running here, you get used to running in the traffic at high speeds, and you get used to the amount of downforce you lose being behind someone else. So you know, there's not going to be any unknowns this year, a lot less anyway. And last year I was with a great team, and this year's the same team, and all the people in Team Green, I know they're going to do a great job during the race.
Paul?
Well, the minutes continue to tick away to the start of the engines. There's turn 2, the southeast turn on the outside of the exit, the original VIP suites where Bobby Unser is watching. Turn 2 is an action spot. The collective tiny mistakes of the front straight in turn 1 catch up with the drivers in this turn. In 75, Tom Sneva got caught up with a slower car and cut his car in half. It was a great surprise when he actually walked away from this accident with the help of his rescuers. The fans now filling into the southeast vista there. A huge grandstand that gives a view of turns 1, 2, 3, and all the way down the backstretch.
Until you try to win a championship, you think it's no big deal. But then you find out how tough it really is. And you realize you can't gamble on anything. Not on the car, not on the engine, and certainly not on the tires. You just got to go with the best. Goodyear Eagles, the proven winners.
Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
It isn't easy winning one of these things, and without Goodyear, it's almost impossible.
Already has appeared on Tim Allen's Home Improvement Show here on ABC. Tim's at many of the races, done a little road racing as well. Now let's continue our look at the starting 33. Here's Sam Posey.
Well, Paul, the second of our 3 grid groups is comprised of drivers who have raced here from 3 to 7 times. Sophomores, you might say. None of them has ever won the race, but 2 or 3 are among today's hottest favorites. Robbie Gordon brings to this race a swashbuckling confidence. 8 weeks ago, he won his first IndyCar race at Phoenix. Today, we'll be listening to his radio communication with his car owner, Derek Walker. A racer all his life, when he pedaled to this win in 1980, he was just 11. Stefan Johansson, the Swede with a taste for fine art. After 9 years in Formula One, he switched to Indy cars, and today races here for the 3rd time. 15 years ago, age 23, he became the Formula 3 champion of England. When you think of Buddy Lazier, think of Vail, Colorado, his home, and skiing, the passion he shares with racing. A dark horse here in his green Menard, Buddy has moved fast all his life, on pavement and snow. Another driver who loves skiing, Davy Jones. In his first Indy, he was a 22-year-old kid, a protege of A.J. Foyt. Today, Davy is 30 and hungry for the big-time success that has eluded him so far. Like so many in today's Indy field, he began in Formula 4s. Japan's Hiro Matsushita, whose family owns Panasonic, is one of the richest men ever to drive a racing car. Lackluster in 3 Indy 500 starts, he has suddenly found real speed. Scott Pruitt, his career is back on track after his terrible crash 5 years ago. He has been Firestone's chief test driver for their historic return to Indy. 15 years ago, a surprise birthday party. Scott and Firestone could surprise the field today. Lynn St. James. She had to work desperately hard to land last-minute backing to race her 4th consecutive Indy. Lynn has achieved something that in 1980 seemed impossible, that a woman could be a threat here, not just a curiosity. Paul Tracy, the explosively brilliant Canadian, has excelled everywhere except Indy. And it's the same story for his team, Newman Haas, which has never won at Indy. 15 years ago, at age 11, Paul had already been racing 6 years. Like Tracy, Jimmy Vasser is a lifelong racer. He sits in a car at least the equal of the one he drove to 4th place here last year. He's 29, 15 years down the road from his junior year in high school. Eddie Cheever, an American who lived most of his childhood in Europe, shy, at times even aloof, the perfect contrast with A.J. Foyt, for whom he drives. During the last 15 years, Eddie and his wife Rita have had fancy addresses: Rome, Monaco, Aspen. Study this face. You might see it in the winner's circle today. Scott Goodyear, Honda engine, Firestone tires, an eclectic mix that could help this Canadian reach the pinnacle of a career he began exactly 15 years ago. Veteran of 7 Indies, Teo Fabi, the Italian with a degree in aeronautical engineering. As a rookie in 1983, he took the pole. He's with a new team with real hope. The other 7-year veteran, Stan Fox, carries an unusual portfolio. He's a midget and sprint car expert who drives an Indy car only once a year, yet he is awesome. 15 years ago, Stan was Wisconsin State midget champ. Stan and the others in this group share one goal: be first across the yard of bricks.
Actors and athletes are attracted to IndyCar racing. Home improvement here in Walker Racing as well, as along with Richard Karn and John Elway of the NFL Denver Broncos here to wish Robbie Gordon well. Robbie, what is it going to take for you to pilot your car to victory lane today?
Well, you know, the most important thing for us is to stay clean all day and to run 500 miles. If we can do that, I think we've got an excellent opportunity to win in this race.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Scott Pruitt stands alongside, and Scott, what a terrific comeback story, missing this race the last couple of years. The thousands of miles of testing for Firestone. Under these prevailing weather conditions, what are you expecting from your Firestones today?
Well, I think it's going to be good no matter what. The Firestones are shown all month long. We can run in hot conditions, we can run in cool conditions, and I mean, what I see is going to be a fast race. I hope Patrick gives me a great car. They have every other race, and I'm looking forward to it.
A chance to make history today for Scott Pruitt. Wish you well.
Thank you.
Paul?
Bobby Rahal, winner in 1986, his wife Debbie, as they make their first appearance out in the pit area, just coming out of Gasoline Alley, as many of the drivers now beginning to move toward the pit area. Let's go back into the garage area. Jerry Punch.
Lynn St. James, although you qualified 6th a year ago and start back in row 10 today, for many reasons this must be your most rewarding Indy start to date.
Well, as we know, talent, skill, desire does not ensure that you're going to start the Indy 500, but because sponsors did come through, Whitlock Corporation, Blue Blocker, Ford, Goodyear. Those people enabled me to be here. We earned our spot. I'm very proud of that spot, and I want to have the race of my life today.
Well, she was Rookie of the Year back in 1992. After an 11th place finish, she would like to improve on that today. Paul?
There's Davy Jones. He had hoped to drive 2 races here today, one in Indianapolis and then fly to Charlotte, but he wrecked in practice for the Charlotte 600, and so he's going to only drive 500 miles, only 500 miles. Well, they've delayed the start of the engines by about 5 minutes, so it's now 28 minutes until the start of the engines here at Indianapolis. As we take a look back at turn number 3, the northeast turn at the end of the long backstretch. It's a guts turn where a driver can set up a pass like Ari Lyondike and the red and blue car did on Bobby Rahal. Once Ari got past, it ended up being his race all of the way. Watch turn 3. There's turn 3. People already filling those stands all around the racetrack as we move close to the start. There's Scott Goodyear and his wife Leslie. They'll start outside on the front row with his Honda-powered car. Some people think he can win.
The 1995 Miller Pit Stop Competition, brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft. Thursday, the 19th annual Miller Genuine Draft Pit Stop Competition was held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In the final, defending champions Jacques Villeneuve and Team Green faced Michael Andretti in the Newman Haas Racing Team. The total time in the pit box determines the winner. Team Green, led by Chief Mechanic Kyle Moyer, defeated Newman Haas by 1/10 of a second with a time of 14.556 seconds to win the $25,000 first prize from Miller Genuine Draft.
All-new Miller Genuine Draft Bobby Ray Hall Indy car. Awesome. When opened up.
We're back live at Indianapolis. There's Paul Newman, great actor. Very, very good race driver, one of the co-owners of Michael Andretti's and Paul Tracy's car. Roberto Guerrero, he still holds the track record here at Indianapolis. Many thought that he would lose that honor this year, but he still has it. They didn't get up above his speed. And Danny Sullivan, been 10 years since he won here with that very famous spin and win. There are 3 former winners in the field. Here is our final look at the fastest 33. Our next group is the most experienced and includes the 3 previous winners. Raul Boesel has led 19 laps in the race in his 8 years at the Speedway. Twice, he started on the front row. This Brazilian has been racing since 1980. That was the year that he married Vera. Now they have 2 children. With a decade of experience at Indy, Michael Andretti is driving for the first time without his father in the field. He's led 337 laps, twice as many as any other driver in today's race. In 1980, Michael was graduating from high school in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Roberto Guerrero has been racing Indy 10 years. He started out strong. He is still the current track record holder. The 36-year-old Roberto has been racing since he was 11. In 1980, he was driving the British Formula 3 series. Arie Luyendyk won the fastest 500 ever in 1990. In 93, he was the pole sitter. This is his 11th 500-mile race. When he married Mika in 1980, he already had 8 years of racing experience. This year is the 10th anniversary of Danny Sullivan's spin and win. He returns for his 12th start after sitting out last year's race. In 1980, when not driving Can-Am or Formula Atlantic, he was an avid outdoorsman. Bobby Rahal has competed in the Indy 500 on 12 occasions. In half of those, he has finished in the top 10, winning in 1986, driving for Jim Truman, who died just a few days after that win. Together, he and Truman rolled up quite a record as a racing team. Bobby's been racing for 22 years. The most experienced driver in the field is the pole sitter, Scott Brayton, with 13 previous starts. In 1985, he held the single lap record. His pole position is a dream come true for Scott and his dad, Lee, a former driver himself.
Headed through Gasoline Alley with the entire Newman Haas team. Paul Tracy, his wife Tara in front of us. Here's Sandy and Michael Andretti, Mario Andretti. Michael, you've come close so many times at winning this 500-mile event. A lot of people say you're the favorite today. Is this your best chance to win this race?
I think it's one of them for sure. You know, there's been a few other years where I think we were in pretty good positions, but I feel good about it. The car's been running great all month, so we'll see.
And over here, Mario, we can't ignore you. I know the emotions must be just awful right now for the first time not being in this field as a retired racer.
Well, no question. You know, it's certainly a different feeling for me because I always felt quite cool, you know, walking out like we're doing now. But now, all of a sudden, you know, I feel some anxieties that I haven't experienced before. But, you know, leave it all up to Mike. I have full confidence in him, and Godspeed for all these guys.
Mario, you're always cool. Jack?
Gary, it's awfully hard with a crowd of 400,000 to find a place to gather your thoughts, but Bobby Rahal has done it right next to his car up against the outside wall. Bobby, 86 a victory. What do you think it'll take for you to get to victory lane and make your second Indy 500 win?
Well, a good, well-balanced car throughout the field run and really staying out of trouble, I guess. You know, last year we managed to avoid a bunch of incidents in front. I just hope we can do it again if we have to. And the car feels good. I just, you know, you just hope everything hangs together, and if it does, I think we have a good chance.
he likes his chances. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, pole sitter Scott Brayton, along with teammate Ari Leineck, will lead the fastest field in Indy history to the green flag. And, Scotty, got to ask you, what concerns you most, all the congestion at the start or the challenge of completing 500 miles?
Well, they both concern me, but the challenge between the 500 miles will be the most difficult one to master. And I think we're going to have a great start and a great race.
Let's ask your teammate, Ari. Ari, how about the start? Have you and Scotty worked something out as teammates at the beginning?
Well, we're looking for a safe start, obviously, and whoever gets to the corner first has it.
All right, no deals here. First speed to the corner in turn 1 will lead the first lap, guys.
Well, the clock continues to count to the start of the engines. Last year, the 85 winner Danny Sullivan spent the day high over turn 4, the northwest turn, working with our announcing team. He was the one to make the call as Emerson Fittipaldi hit the wall while in the lead. Emo had a lap on everyone but Little Al and was uncertain about Junior's true position. So when Junior passed him, he picked up the tempo to get him back and drove it right into the wall. Now in turn 4, nearly everyone is at their seat. The pre-race ceremonies here are very traditional and immensely popular. Most fans are seated an hour or more before the start just to watch the preparation. Fly, we can race at Indianapolis. The Goodyear Blimp Spirit of Akron providing the aerial coverage of today's race over the Speedway. Last year's champion, not in this race. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And it's been since way back in the early 80s that he hasn't been in this race, and I know this has got to be a terrible feeling right now. How are you handling this emotion?
Well, Gary, it just feels very empty. You know, we tried our best with the Marlboro Team Penske and we just came up short, and now, you know, race days come, and I just feel very empty inside.
You watch it from the suite?
Yeah, we will. We'll go up and join the team and you know, be a team today. So.
And we look forward to seeing you at Milwaukee next week. Thanks, Junior.
You bet. We'll be there.
Paul?
Sad that Little Al is not in the race. Alessandro Zampedri as he waits for the start of the Indianapolis 500. The clock continues to count. There's Michael Andretti. And, of course, the front row team.
Adrian Fernandez knows what it's like to make this walk out to his race car because he's a sophomore driver. Christian Fittipaldi experiencing it for the first time in his career. A rookie in competition for the Indianapolis 500. Danny Sullivan, who could ever forget the spin to win where Mario Andretti thought he was going to win his second Indianapolis 500. You know, in just a couple of minutes, Scott Brayton will strap himself in this sleek race car and begin to run from the pole position at speeds in excess of 240 miles per hour. Now, the car is very sleek, side pods. The idea is when you're running at 240 miles an hour, you need wings, front and back, to be able to keep the car on the ground. The tires, you've got to change them between 7 and 8 times during pit stops. No need for gasoline. The car runs on methanol. But miles per gallon, how about only 1.7 miles per gallon? Now, what about 500 miles in just 2.5 hours? That'd be like if you got in your car in Washington, D.C. and drove all the way to Detroit, Michigan. Now, the cost of this entire package to compete in the Indianapolis 500, how about $500,000? The horsepower in the engine, 900 horsepower, 6 times what you have beneath the hood of your car. What's the cost to repair the car and get it ready for the next race after 500 miles? You aren't going to believe this. $200,000 additional. So for a driver, it's not only his office, it's his meal ticket to fame, fortune, and hopefully a trip to victory lane. Robbie Gordon finally making his way out to the field as he looks for his first victory ever in the greatest spectacle in racing. Michael Andretti starting to get out to his car, but some drivers are actually beginning to strap themselves into their car, and there's a reason for this. One of the things that drivers wish to do is begin to dial out the crowd, the people, as Lynn St. James is trying to do right now. St. James enjoys trying to visualize what a race lap around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway would be. Jacques Villeneuve also attempting to do the same thing. Visualization is so very, very important. And now let's pick up the track public address system with the man who's been calling the events here, Tom Carnegie.
To the starting line, presenting the Purdue University All-American Band, joined by the lovely and talented Florence Henderson. They join in presenting our national anthem.
what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
Florence Henderson.
We'll return with more of the Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Wide World of Sports.
Honoring the Memorial Day weekend, the larger purpose of this weekend, a flyover by a B-17 and the rendering of taps.
Commemorating the 50th anniversary of World War II. We celebrate the 50th year of the conclusion of that worldwide conflict. After that, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway began again under the Holman George banner.
Race fans, during their 50 years of ownership, the Holman George family have developed many, many traditions here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that we enjoy taking part in each and every year. Celebrating his 25th year. Once again, it's time to hear Back Home Again in Indiana. And here's Mr. Jim Neighbors. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends out its fragrance through the fields I used to road. When I think about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home. And let's go racing. We take you to the head of the line.
Well, we are just a few seconds away now from hearing those famous words. Certainly an emotional time for all of us as we wait the start of the 79th running of this event and the 50th race for the Holman George family. That moment has arrived. To give those famous words is Chairman Emeritus of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Board, Mrs. Mary Fendrick Holman.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Now on the 5/8 mile main stretch at Indianapolis, the engines begin to roar as all 33 respond to Mary Holman's command. There's Robbie Gordon. Many of the associate crew members now are moving away from their cars, and very soon they will be rolling away for the start of the race. Let's go down to Jerry Punch at the back of the field.
And Chip Ganassi, after all the years, does the thrill of this moment ever go away?
Never, Jerry. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I'm coming back every year.
How about your partner here, Joe Montana? Joe, your first ever Indianapolis 500. What are your emotions?
I'll tell you what, they're as high as they've ever been. You hear a lot about it, but I'll tell you what, the excitement when you're here is more than you can ever imagine.
Those are the words from a man who played 4 times with the world watching in 4 Super Bowls. Paul?
And a phrase repeated by almost everyone who comes to their first Indianapolis 500. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, here's Steve Horn. He's been away from the Speedway for a couple of years, but he won here with Bobby Rahal in 1986. Now with Scott Goodyear and Andre Ribeiro, Honda, Firestone, and a great chance to win. You've got to be thrilled.
It's been a great thrill for us all month. The team's done a great job, both drivers, and just really excited to be back here.
Well, I know it's a lot of emotion for everybody right now. You got everything under control?
Yeah, I think it is.
All right. He says it somewhat cautiously. Jack?
Well, Gary, what about John Menard as the cars begin to pull out? You've got 2 on the front row. What was the last thing you said as a car owner to the pole sitter, Scott Brayton?
I said be safe and kick some butt.
Well, there you go, Paul.
All right, John Menard owns the 2 cars on the inside of the front row. There's the pole sitter, one of them, Scott Brayton. Race analysis for the day. 200 laps, 500 miles lie ahead for these 33 starters. And the best indication is that they should have pit stops coming right on schedule. But look here, Buddy Lazier has not yet started, the 3rd of the Menard cars. Now, once again, 200 laps, 500 mile. Race record, 185.9 set by Lyondike. Expected fuel stops coming between the 24th and 27th lap, depending on how many caution flags come out. Now,
sticking at 6,000.
Listen to that. You're listening to Robbie Gordon talking with his car owner, Derek Walker. We'll stay with them throughout the day. In today's field, there's the chassis, the engines, the tires, as Buddy Lazier finally gets to roll away. And he will join up in that starting field in his original position. Now let's review for you once again the entire field for the Indianapolis 500. In the front row, on the pole, of course, is Scott Brayton with his teammate Arie Luyendyk sitting alongside. And on the outside of that front row is Scott Goodyear, 2 Menards and then Honda power. Jim Perkins is driving the pace car. There are 3 safety cars in front of the official pace car itself. The Corvette, beautiful machine. There's your front row. Now let's take a look at row number 2. In the second row, Michael and Jack are both looking to improve their best 500 finish of second. In the third row, Gordon and Vassar both finished in the top 5 last year. In the fourth row, Hero has been fast all month. He's in row 4, along with the fastest rookie in history, Andre Ribeiro. The fifth row, 2 former pole winners occupy this row. In row 6, 2 young Chargers and a talented rookie. One of the former winners heads up row number 7. And we look for the 7th row now. There it is. That's Bobby Rahal. The 8th row, a former winner, a veteran, and the 3rd Menard car, Buddy Lazier, who did get started. The 9th row, the least experienced row in the field, has only 2 previous starts. In row 10, 2 rookies and the only woman in the field. And the 11th row, every starter in the final row has experience. None have ever started this back in the field. Now let's take a look at today's stories. The engines, of course, are number 1, especially the Menards and the Honda in the front row. The competition between the tire companies could become a very key factor today. The wide open competition that we recognize in this field right now. Anybody could win and we could see a new champion. And of course the weather, possibility of thunderstorms, and overall then how that will affect the pit strategy. Now, let's go back down to Jack Arute.
Well, there are so many stories in the Indianapolis 500. Consider Stan Fox, right here, a native Hoosier who's a salesman by trade. He runs, as you said, in the grid piece. He runs sprint cars, dirt cars, but he makes 1 start every year for the Indianapolis 500. It's his lifelong dream to compete. But one of the major reasons why, last place in this race last year paid $143,000. Not a bad paycheck. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Guys, 12 days ago, Michigan native Brian Hurta sat slumped unconscious in the crumbled remains of his 1995 Reynard after a violent impact with the wall. Now, the car could not be repaired, but he will start in a backup car in 33rd spot. Somewhat mercifully, the concussion produced an amnesia, which has erased any memory of that violent incident. But what Brian does know is that his legs are sore, his back is stiff, and there are 32 cars between him and the front of the field. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Gary, one man in this field that we haven't heard a lot about is Teo Fabi, but believe me, he's had a terrific month of May. Consistent speeds for this new Jerry Forsythe team at better than 230 miles per hour. He starts in row 5, but among all these thousands and thousands of people standing, waiting for the green flag, if you're looking for a dark horse, don't count out Teo Fabi. Paul?
All right, Robbie Gordon is on the pit road. He apparently is having some sort of problem with his two-way communications, if not the race car. Jack Arute, what's the story?
Well, Paul, believe it or not, it's a radio problem. The report was that he has a problem with his radio, so what they're going to try and do is bring him in and see if they can cure it. So very important to have radio communication for 500 miles. Here he comes in the... Listen to Derek Walker. He'll instruct Robbie and the crew as to what they need to do.
When he comes in.
Saying he'll switch to the good radio. You can watch it unfold here.
Listen to him. Something in the front there.
Probably very important to say that we are listening in. We don't have equipment connected to that system. We're passive listeners.
What he said. What's the switch it? We don't have another one. You got plenty of time. Just take your time. Get ready. Get ready. We got plenty of time.
So Derek Walker encourages Robbie Gordon as the field moves on to the long backstretch now. Very soon they'll move into their rows of 3. And hopefully Robbie Gordon will be able to catch up to the remainder of the field before the start. He still has about a mile before the front row reaches the green flag. Very nice alignment here in 4. Robbie Gordon still sitting in the pits with radio communications trouble. The pace car begins now to accelerate. Scott Brayton, the pole sitter, leads the front row around. Good alignment on the front row. Pace car is off the track now. They're a bit straggled beyond the front row. Brayton begins to accelerate. There's the green flag. And the 79th running of the Indy 500 is underway as Scott Goodyear sweeps across the outside and into the lead. Ari Lyondike ducks into second place. And we've got a car into the wall. Right off of the first turn, 2 cars tangled. One of them is Eddie Cheever. The other looked to be Stan Fox. one car cut away. The rest of the field slows.
All right, Paul, in turn 2, we can see debris, the main bad thing. Debris, broken race cars, laying all over this race track. Clear down into turn 2, all the way from turn 1, clear down here. There's Dan Fox sitting right in front of us there. The biggest thing the guy's going to have to worry about when they come back around, cutting their tires and all the carbon fiber laying around.
So we've seen 3 cars. Eddie Cheever is out of his, Stan Fox is his, and it looks like Lynn St. James, the 3rd car. She is still in her car. A.J. Foyt down in the pit area, no longer in two-way communications with his driver, Eddie Cheever. But the yellow flag out right here on the start. And there is DeFerrin trying to drive a broken car back to the pit area.
Paul, the track is blocked so bad down here, they're going to have to put the cars down on the pit apron to get them through in my area.
Let's go to the pits, Gary.
And a quick radio report from Paul Tracy. Paul, he said, Tracy told his crew he barely missed that accident as it happened. He said it's the luckiest thing that's happened to this team this season.
Well, a first lap incident is one of the great fears. Here it is as the leader, Scott Goodyear, came off of 2. Now watch way up in the corner. Suddenly 2 cars get together, and that was Cheever and Fox. The field darts to the inside, many using the warm-up lanes, which were only built here a few years ago, but probably saved many drivers here today. Stan Fox looks like he got into the wall incredibly hard. We're concerned about him, very concerned. We'll keep an eye, and we won't report anything until we actually have it confirmed.
You can see as we look at this second replay how many tires and suspension pieces began to come off the cars right away and affect cars that really were not part of the original accident at all. Lynn St. James was one of those who was tagged by flying debris. Here's a third one from the car of Bobby Rahal, who of course started fairly far back in the pack. Watch to the right of the screen, and there's where the debris is already bouncing around. Remember, carbon fiber is dark gray in color. It's very hard to see against the track, particularly on a day like this, so it's easy to pick up a flat.
It would look from my vantage point down here in turn 2, Sam and Paul, that something must have broken on the Fox car, because it immediately made a right-hand turn. That's not normal.
Let's go to Jerry Punch.
A.J. Foyt talking to his other driver here, Scott Sharp, momentarily. A.J., a tough break at the beginning. What happened?
Well, I really don't know. I have not talked to Eddie, and you know, this is racing. I've been that way before myself here. But right now I'm in contact with Scott trying to figure out if we need to pit or not.
Okay, that's Scott Sharp, his other driver. Let's check in with Jack Arute.
Well, Jerry, that early caution was a break for Robbie Gordon and his team, because not only did he have a radio problem, but the major reason why they stayed on pit road as long as they did, not to get radio communication, but added to it and exacerbating the situation, a throttle that kept sticking. And Paul Page, you know, that's the last thing you want in Indianapolis is a throttle sticking wide open. Gordon's had that problem before.
Yeah, I've had the problem at Miami. For one, had radio problems at Phoenix, but yet he won that race. So now the yellow is out the first time. 1 lap is complete. We're under caution at Indianapolis owing to this accident. When we come back, we'll update it. Live in Indianapolis, still under yellow after a first lap accident, first turn actually. The field is still circulating on lap number 3. These are the cars that we believe are involved in the crash. Eddie Cheever, Lynn St. James, Eric Bachelard, Stan Fox, Carlos Guerrero, and Gil DeFerrin. This is regular speed. Now look back in the field. See, looked like Cheever was right down on the grass as Fox and Cheever got together, and then everybody else involved.
The trouble started in rows 4 and 5 with Stan Fox and Eddie Cheever. Stan Fox, low down, appears to lose control and go across the track up toward the outer wall and strike Stan Fox. And strike Eddie Cheever. I'm sorry, it's Fox going diagonally across the road and striking Cheever, who was running along the outside. The trouble began in rows 4 and 5, and then because of the debris and bouncing tires, it involved Gilles DeFerrin, who was in row 7, and Bachelard, St. James, and Guerrero, who were back in row 10.
And Sam, something caused that car 91. Just watch it as you look down low there. And you'll see it. It just makes a right-hand turn. Now just watch it on the right there. Purple car. What he did is he didn't, I don't think he got touched or anything. He lost the rear end a little bit to the right. The car hooked. It immediately made a right-hand turn and right straight into the wall. Of course, that's what we're really worried about with Dan Fox the most. He really hit the wall head on.
Yeah, took the front of his Renard off. Looked like it may have been Schieber, though it might have been Fox. Got into the grass, lost the back end, then turned up in the wall and started this melee here at Indianapolis. The caution is on now. Now tonight, Sybil Shepherd stars as Stormy Weathers on the ABC Sunday night movie. And tomorrow, Roger Moore in a world premiere movie, The Man Who Wouldn't Die. Go to the movies with ABC tonight and tomorrow at 9, 8 Central Time. The field circles behind the pace car. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
We're in the Danny Sullivan pit, and Ziggy, Paul Harkis, a crew chief. What's Danny's situation? I understand he got struck in the head with some debris.
Yeah, he said he got hit in the helmet by flying debris. He thinks he's okay, but he's not quite sure about the one of the front tires. The right front tire seems to be a little bit of a problem. We may try and bring him in and change that before it goes green. He's afraid that he might get a puncture if it stays out there once it does go green.
That's Danny Sullivan concerned about a possible right front tire going down, Paul.
We'll be frantically checking all the cars. There was a lot of debris out there. It could affect the race. We'll be back.
The difference between winning and losing a championship isn't anything big. Usually you can measure it in tiny fractions of an inch. That's why every IndyCar champion out here drives on Goodyear Eagles. In a sport driven by precision, Goodyear gives us one less thing to worry about.
Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
I've tried different cars and different engines, but I think I'll stay with Goodyear.
The 79th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Valvoline, the #1 choice of America's top mechanics. Goodyear, #1 in tires. Buick and your local dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place.
We're still under yellow at Indianapolis. In the pits, they work on Gilles de Ferran's car. He's out of the car. You saw him actually drive this terribly damaged car all the way around. They're counting on these slow laps and extensive caution period to maybe get that car repaired. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And here's another driver involved, Eric Bachelard, your crew working on your car. From your seat, could you have any idea what happened?
No, I was too far away, so I just suddenly I could see Chive was in the wall and there was parts flying all over the track, and I was more a victim of that because there was one wheel flying and hit my front right, so all the front right of my car is damaged, so they're gonna fix it now, and I should be able to restart, but I hope the car is gonna be set up properly again.
Well, let's swing over here. Thank you, Eric. Walter Payton, of course, your first time involved now as an IndyCar owner in the Indy 500, and here we are in the opening lap watching your crew dig into your checkbook. It can't be a very comforting feeling.
Well, that's all the part of racing, because you never know what's going to happen. An accident into the first turn, wheel comes off and it goes in the air and comes down and hits us, but we'll still get back into the race.
Appreciate your time, Walter. Let's check in now with Jerry Punch.
How important is experience here at Indianapolis? Well, Danny Sullivan drove through that debris today. He thought he felt something a little bit strange with the right front tire. They were trying to decide whether to pit or not. Well, Danny said, I'll make the call. I'm going to come in. And here's what they found. A tiny sliver had been sliced out of the inside of the right front tire. Now, it's not flat right now, but by the time the green flag waved, this tire would have leaked out enough to go flat completely, and Danny would have been in the wall. What a call from an experienced driver. Paul?
Well, great call, Danny Sullivan. There he is.
You know, Paul, something people ought to try to remember about carbon fiber. It's half the weight of aluminum, but twice the strength of steel. And even though it looks very small to the people, it cuts like a knife.
You know, it's funny, we talked about how inexperienced the field is. In 1992, if you totaled up all the number of years of experience of all 33 drivers, you had 262 years of experience. Less in 93, less last year, and finally this year, 129 years only. What does it mean? The inexperience may have been part of all this, but the other side of it is there hasn't been an accident like this for several years, and it's as if a whole cycle might be starting again. The drivers who have never been in an Indy 500 have now tasted what used to be an old tradition, which is first lap crashes.
I hope that's not true. Buddy Lazier lost it on the first lap in 91. Last multiple was 88 when Brayton, Guerrero, and Bettenhausen all got together. Here's a Valvoline rundown after 5 laps, and everything but the first turn, of course, run under yellow. But Scott Goodyear was able to sweep across and pick up the lead. And the pole sitter, Scott Brayton, faded on the start. Michael Andretti got around and lined up behind Arie Luyendyk in 3rd place. Then Gugelmin, Villeneuve, Pruitt, Vassar, and we take you on down through the entire field at the conclusion of 5 laps, still under yellow. We will keep track of all of the drivers involved in that accident. You've already seen that Joe DeFerrin is back in the pits. They're trying to get his car going, and we will keep track of things at the medical center here. We have very good communications. We don't want to do anything until we know exactly what the conditions of everybody is. Let's go back to Gary Gerald.
Paul, you mentioned Gilles DeFerrin out of the car, still with the helmet on. I understand, Gilles, that this was one of those cases where you also were just a totally innocent victim.
I mean, I saw the incident quite early on the corner, so I slowed down very early and went to the inside to make sure nobody hit me in the back. And from the smoke, one wheel came bouncing off and hit the car. I mean, there was little I could do.
We're nearly 12 minutes now into this yellow situation. Your crew continues to work. You have the helmet on. Obviously, it looks like you want to get back out here and run some.
Oh, sure. I want to do as many miles as I can do, and we'll see if we can fix the car. If we fix the car and the car is safe, we'll continue. Otherwise, there'll be little point.
Well, we're glad you're safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gary, Gilles was so far away from the incident, he'd driven way down on the apron. I thought he was leaving the track altogether in an effort to get out of that.
I think it's pretty obvious, too, why it's so important to start up front and why they qualify so hard. Guys like Scott Goodyear in the front group don't want to be in accidents. Of course, everybody doesn't want to be in the accidents, but it shows you that there is a difference.
You look down on this giant speedway from the Goodyear blimp floating overhead. Captain John Moran is at the helm of the Goodyear blimp. It is the blimp Spirit. And the indications are that the track has been cleaned and that we may go back to green flag racing, actually the restart of the race, within 1 lap. We'll keep an eye on the pace car and the signals from there.
Paul, you talked during the pre-race show about how to expect the unexpected, and Bobby, how open this field really was. Well, now it's even more open than ever. Fortunately, a couple of the favorites were not affected there. Bobby Rahal and Paul Tracy were right in the middle of it, but as far as we know, did not suffer any damage. We'll watch for them to move up.
Sam, we said this was going to be an exciting race, but we didn't want this type of excitement, did we?
Exactly. They were almost in your lap, Bobby.
Bobby, as they roll past you, that debris could have been critical in causing damage to other cars. Do you see anything there?
Well, Paul, I don't see it. You got to remember that carbon fiber is so small. But, you know, just imagine every one of these drivers is worried about it. It's not what they got going through the accident. It's what they even got coming around the next time. Did they run over some little sliver? They're all trying to feel, do they have a tire that's going slowly flat? That's a very serious thing here.
Well, the United States Auto Club and the Speedway crews did a great job of getting the track clear so very quickly. 8 laps are in the record book, all of those except for the first straightaway under yellow. And now the pace car has accelerated. The field now comes under the control of Scott Goodyear, the leader of the race. Second time that he's led the Indy 500. He led twice for 5 laps in '93. Pace comes up. Go. Green light winks on the main straightaway. Now single file back to the green. And Arie Luyendyk immediately starts a challenge on Goodyear. Michael Andretti is 3rd. Scott Brayton is 4th, and Luyendyk sweeps across the front. Look at the tremendous power of that Menard engine as he begins to pull away.
Look at the smoke coming out of the Menard. We had smoke coming out of the right rear of the Menard as it came through that corner. Now, that could have been from the debris before, Paul, because I don't see any smoke down the back straightaway.
Michael Andretti moving inside of Scott Goodyear. The fight is for 2nd place.
I asked Scott if he figured he'd have to go after the Menards, even though it's thought that the Menards might not finish the race. He said, yeah, I got to race them no matter what, so that's what we're seeing happen here.
So in just 1 lap, Scott Goodyear drops back into 3rd place. Michael Andretti comes forward, and Scott Brayton is now closing on Goodyear. There's Goodyear.
I think Michael's deal of being able to get Goodyear was just vast experience. These things are like a flywheel. You really need about a lap to get these cars all wound up. Michael got to run at Goodyear.
We're watching now as Scott Brayton begins to close on Scott Goodyear. There is Scott Goodyear, the left of your screen, the bright yellow and red car. There is Brayton. Brayton was the pole sitter, and they are now locked in a battle, despite the fact that Goodyear dominated the race right at the start. But boy, when they restarted it, Arie Luyendyk and Michael Andretti got around. This is the 4th time in 6 years that Arie Luyendyk has led the Indy 500. There he is with Michael Andretti closing in.
Now let's also try to remember now that the weather has been a big factor here. Fernandez is in the pits right there. And I started to say the weather is a big factor. Right now the weather is a whole bunch better. I can see from my vantage point, but the drivers are pushing hard early on because if the race were to end after halfway, they must be as near the front as they can, possibly winning.
Well, Bobby, you won a range-shortened race here. What would be the strategy of all these teams with the potential of weather?
Flat out for right now, Paul, believe me.
All right, let's go to the pits. Jerry Punch.
Actually, we're back in the garage area. We're able to walk away. Eddie, what happened out there on the first lap?
I was on the outside of Stan, and I was already starting to look at corner 2, and he just turned sharp right. It almost as if something either broke in his car or somebody pushed him. He turned sharp right. He hit me, and then he hit the wall, and he had a big impact,
You've been in the care center. Any updates on anybody else? She's talked to any other drivers in there?
We're all in different units there. You don't. I just saw the workers taking Stan out of the car, the track, and he had a big hit.
Obviously, Eddie Cheever okay, but very upset about and worried about some of the fellow drivers. Paul?
On board with Michael Andretti as he chases the leader just ahead. Arie Luyendyk, 12 laps into the record book. They turned the last one at just over 218 miles an hour. Michael Andretti thus far has had the fastest lap, his quickest at 218.6.
Arie Luyendyk, in addition to his tremendous victory, of course, several years ago, also has the distinction of having gone past the 100-lap mark in every 500 he's ever run. Arie Luyendyk can baby a car, and if there's one that might need it, it's this Menard.
So Arie Luyendyk out in front. An update from Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, you know, Luyendyk has one of those stock block Menards that needs 55 inches of boost. According to Larry Curry, they are not getting a full 55 inches of boost at this time. They're a little bit afraid of trying to adjust because of the pop-off valve that could literally drop 15 to 50 horsepower off the engine. They are playing it very conservatively. Larry says even if we have to give up the lead, we're not going to try and run it. Right now, they're at about 52.4 in terms of boost.
But as we watch him come through turn 2, Michael has not let up on him. If he thinks he's got a problem, he's going to press it hard. Watch him on the track right there.
Michael Andretti has led every one of the 5 IndyCar races that have been run so far this year. He hasn't won any of them, but you can see right now he's stalking the leader and just really where he wants to be, I would say, in the race.
Arie Luyendyk leads it. There he is, the bright yellow and red 40 car. Michael Andretti is second. Scott Goodyear is sitting in third. Michael closed in for a second there. Looked like he may have had Arie. In fourth place is Scott Brayton. Jack Villeneuve is in fifth. Mauricio Gugelmin sixth. Paul Tracy seventh. Jimmy Vasser is in eighth. Scott Pruitt ninth. And Andre Ribeiro runs in 10th.
At least on paper, Michael has a very reliable car. A Lola chassis, a Ford engine, not the hot Ford engine that they experimented with earlier in the season that had a little more horsepower, a more conservative unit that is very well proven. So he should have a car that can go the 500 miles.
So you got to remember now, these Menard Buick engines have been detuned in order to go 500 miles. This is not the qualifying trim that we saw these guys run in. Keep remembering this as the day goes on, but they all have also a racing gear and a cruise gear. One to make fuel mileage, one to make the engine go easier, and the other one to make them go fast. Right now, they can see the clouds. Look at the sky right there. They shouldn't be running their race gears.
And already the leaders start to overhaul slower cars. This may be a chance for Michael. It is as they come past Stefan Johansson. Michael passes the leader. There's Herta just ahead of Arie Luyendyk, who's now back in second place.
Michael, who has led more laps than almost the whole rest of the field put together, is now back in the lead of the Indy 500 and has led all 6 of the IndyCar races held this year.
He planned that and used the traffic to get it done. That shows you real experience.
6th time that Michael has led. The battle now will develop for second place. Lynn St. James was one of those in that accident. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
And Paul, fortunately, she's walked out of the hospital. Lynn, what happened out there?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I saw that there was an incident up ahead, and I just tried to find a hole. I thought I had found one. I had to go high, but I got hit and then got into the wall, and so then I was on my own missile. But it seems strange because the incident was so far ahead that there should have been enough room for people to get through, but everybody was, I guess, still bunched up, so which is very unfortunate. It's too short, you know, and these things really shouldn't happen, but unfortunately they did, and I can't bring much light to it. I'd like to see a replay myself just to quite get a better understanding.
A tough month, and it all comes up too short for Lynn St. James.
The leaders overhauling the back of the field now. Let's go back and take a look at Michael Andretti's great move that got him into the lead of the race. We'll look at it from on board his in-car.
Now, there's been talk of throttle response problems with the Menards, and you see Ari had to slow up there for Stefan Johansson, and Michael had it perfectly timed, and Ari couldn't get back up to speed and fast in time to block Michael.
Same shot from Ari Leyendijk's car, and boy, he almost got pinched off there, but there you see the thoroughbred versus the production-based engine. That thoroughbred engine, the Ford Cosworth and Michael's car, will wind up a little faster when necessary.
I think you may find the Menards have trouble in traffic.
What they did right there is they used a double draft. When two cars get side by side, it's just like a vacuum cleaner, and that's how Michael got by those guys.
So 19 laps are complete in the Indianapolis 500 with Michael Andretti taking the lead over Ari Leyendijk and Scott Goodyear. We'll return with more of the 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Wide World of Sports.
Back in Indianapolis, Jacques Villeneuve currently runs in 5th place. Good battle developing behind him between Guzman, Tracy, Vassar, Pruitt, Ribeiro, and Teo Fabi. All of these battling for 5th place, beginning with that red, white, and blue car of Mauricio Guzman. Further update now from the Track Medical Center. Here's Jerry Punch.
And Dr. Henry Bach has walked out to speak with us. Henry, what's the status of the 4 drivers you've checked out?
Lynn St. James, Carlos Guerrero, and Eddie Cheever have been released in good condition, and they're back out of the hospital. Stan Fox has a closed head injury. He's on his way to Methodist Hospital. We'll probably have some information on him in about a half an hour, 45 minutes.
So, Henry, we'll come back and try to get an update on Stan Fox at that time.
Thank you, Jerry.
Paul?
All right, there's the official word from the medical director at the Speedway, Dr. Henry Bach. Scott Goodyear made a good move on Ari Leyendijk for second.
As we watch this exciting battle, the man to look for is Paul Tracy, third from the left, I believe, in this shot. And he has moved up from 16th on the grid to 7th. He is moving fast. Tracy, the story there, of course, is that he's mistake-prone. He's one of the most brilliant drivers in the field, but he's been known to get into tangles with other cars. You see him on the left of the screen right there. Paul Tracy, center of the screen right there, the great Canadian driver. If he can get through the first 100 laps or so of this race in good shape, he may very well have a big day here at the Speedway.
You see the running order at the conclusion of 20 laps. You're on board now with Ari Leyendijk. He runs in 3rd place. He was passed by Scott Goodyear, who moved up into 2nd place. And there is Goodyear. And DeFerrin's car being pushed back to the garage area. I guess they've decided no go on this, because if they put it in the garage area, it cannot come back out. And, of course, the key here is to have that car out of the way when the pit stops begin, which should be very, very shortly. Jack Arute, isn't that correct?
Well, Paul, it should be as early as maybe 3 laps from now. Ari Leyendijk should be the first of the leaders to come in. And, you know, Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company brought a second compound tire to Indy for Carburation Day. It's a little bit softer, and many of the teams are planning to switch to it somewhere during the course of the race. But because of the caution that came out early, many of them are electing not to do it this time. You have to qualify the tire that you qualified on. You have to start the race with. But you see these tires here in Ari Leyendijk's pit that are covered up? Those are the softer Goodyears. Look for them possibly in the 3rd stop of the race. Right now, Leyendijk's going to change back to the old Goodyears, the style that he qualified on.
It's nice to be able to have 2 different tires like that. One of the things bothering the drivers right now, guys, is the wind. It's gusty at times, goes away at times. The drivers have got to be a little bit spooked, because one time they go at the end of the straightaway in one of the sharp turns, and they've got a big wind. The next time it's really still. They probably think their cars are giving a problem.
Wind is blowing from the south, so it's a headwind up the main straight.
As Ari Leyendijk has reported, heads for the pits. And this will be his first stop of the day. He comes off of third place to the pits, and Jack Arut's right there.
First stop is always the most difficult. You have to get acquainted coming down out of 240 miles an hour and hit the marks precisely. Lyondike does. The onboard air jacks go up. He passes off on the water. He's right now just going to take on tires, a full load of methanol fuel, and we look for no major adjustments. Now, yes, they are putting Bobby 3 turns of front wing on both sides on Arie Lyondike's car. He is off and away. Almost stalls the car and having trouble getting back up to speed. They're still pushing, and he's killed the engine.
That's a costly thing. Boy, that's a big problem. Gonna hurt Arie really bad.
And it almost got in the way of Scott Brayton. His teammate is electing to come in now, too. So while one Menard team begins to work on Arie Lyondike, Scott Brayton looks for his pit stop area as well. They get the jack in. They're having trouble getting the onboard starter connected. They do now as it begins to fire. Now Scott Brayton goes to work. Lyondike goes by, but the car is still misfiring. Now, according to Team Menard, they're going to make a wing adjustment as well on Scott Brayton. They do make a rear wing adjustment on Scott Brayton's car. And he is off and away, but again, a very rough-sounding motor. As they begin to come up through the gears, gentlemen.
Remember that this team runs only this one race per year. They have a huge budget, over $6.5 million devoted to this one race. But sometimes you might have teething problems because you've just made the first pit stop of the year that you might not have if you ran all the races.
Let's also keep in mind that the two Menards were the first into the pits for fuel. That means that they may not be getting the mileage the other guys are. It's a very important thing to the whole race.
Bobby, that indeed is one thing we should remember, and more importantly, who can forget the problems they had coming back out of the pits? In both cases, in Lyondike's case, he stalled the car, but Brayton was none better in terms of riding the clutch and coming back up through the gears. That could spell problems in a long race. We got to come in and out of here 7 to 8 times.
Well, Jack, that valve train, I understand, is very sensitive, so you have to be careful not to over-rev it, too, coming out of the pits. Here we are with Michael Andretti.
The leader of the race. As the leaders flashed by last time, it was Michael leading, followed by Scott Goodyear and Jacques Villeneuve. Those three have not stopped. Gugelmin, Vassar, Tracy, Ribeiro, Pruitt, Bobby, Roberto Guerrero, Matsushita, Salazar, Rahal, Zampedri, and Bosell have all stopped as we are watching the fight for first and second. And Goodyear is now beginning to close in.
And there was Robbie Gordon they just went by, so he's still not up to speed.
Both of them due for the pits any time now. That's Robbie Gordon. You see him third in the order. The true third in the race is Jacques Villeneuve. He sits back just a bit.
Remember, we ride with Scott Goodyear here. He has only won 2 IndyCar races. They were both 500-milers.
Now, as we go along, Sam and Paul, and see the sky up there, we see that the clouds are breaking a little bit. There's Michael coming in the pits right now.
So as Michael heads for the pits, Scott Goodyear stays out and will assume the lead. So the Honda engine, at least now we know, is capable of going the farthest, at least based on the first stop. The Menard stopped first. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
We wait with the crew anxiously. Here's the nose of the car. Watch for a slight wing change. They're going to go up a half turn, we're told, on the front. They're staying with the primary Goodyear tire. No change to the optional compound. There's the change at the front of the nose. Everything looks routine. Off the jacks, running about 15.5 seconds on our clock.
And Gary, what that means, a half a turn up on the front wings, 15.110 seconds. But what it means is the front end's going to be a little tighter on the ground. It means it's going to turn a little better.
So the leader of the race makes his stop, and Scott Goodyear assumes the lead. Goodyear has now gone 4 laps beyond Michael Andretti, and he is due for his stop on the next lap. So Scott Goodyear out in front. This could very definitely be a factor in this race, is how these different engines handle their fuel economy. As Goodyear comes around Robbie Gordon, that's not a pass for position. Gordon, remember, had trouble at the opening of the race and has continued to struggle since then. So Scott Goodyear, we watch for the turn down onto pit road.
Goodyear left the team that he was with last year, Bernstein's team. You see him turning down here. He was without a ride at the beginning of this season, but when the Tasman team got to, with Steve Horn putting this team together, he got his old mechanic with him, Joe Flynn, and they've had terrific confidence over this month here.
Scott Goodyear rolls in from the lead. Here's Jack.
Paul, Scott Goodyear has certainly cast the gauntlet down in terms of fuel mileage with his Honda and Firestone shot entry. Now, Firestone has 2 options of tires as well, but they are electing to stay with the same compound that they qualified on. Goodyear now on board in the cockpit, resetting the fuel metering device to tell them how many miles and how many gallons are left on board. They cleaned some debris out of the left front radiator area. A very uneventful pit stop, and he is off and away.
Yeah, Jack noticed Steve Horn made no adjustments to that car. Now, that's something else we want to watch as the race goes on.
So Jacques Villeneuve, French-Canadian, picks up the lead of the race. He made his stop on lap 35. So Villeneuve now in front of the race as he moves up from his position past the front row. Villeneuve is at the top as 34 laps are now complete in the Indianapolis 500-mile race. We'll be back with more of our coverage from Indy.
You want to know how? 9th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Ice Brewed Ice House. Ice brewed so there's never any watered down taste. Valvoline, the #1 choice of America's top mechanics. Splitfire, the patented performance spark plug. It only costs more until you use it. And Chevrolet. One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR, genuine Chevrolet.
Here's the lineup after 38 laps with Jacques Villeneuve at the top of the order, as we suggested. We are now under a yellow, and the reason for the yellow is a piece of debris out on the racetrack. And how did it get there? Well, Arie Luyendyk was going down the front straightaway. Now watch him. He was having trouble with the driver in front of him. Had to dart a couple ways to get by, and in his anger, he knocked out the headrest.
He didn't approve of Scott Sharp.
So because that's on the straightaway, the yellow flag came out. Now this was Arie on his first stop. Listen very carefully to the engine. And then he stalled it. Bobby Unser, that can't be a healthy engine, can it?
What's happened is the computer just went astray on him right there. It's no different than what people can understand as a carburetor choke being on when they try to leave their driveway. It was just dead rich, wouldn't keep running. He had the throttle down, but there's nothing he could do about it.
Now, they have had some problems on those cars with the fuel pumps, too, Bobby Unser.
And you got to remember, Paul, this could be giving them problems throughout the entire day. Plus, it makes the computer give the engine too much fuel, but at high RPM may not be a problem.
So the leader of the race is the blue and white 27 car of Jacques Villeneuve. 35 laps are complete.
IndyCar's best are back on the track. They motor onto Milwaukee's 1 mile oval. It's the Miller Genuine Draft 200 next Sunday on ABC.
We're back. We're still under caution, expecting green very shortly here. Under the caution, Jacques Villeneuve went into the pits. He was the leader of the race at the time. It was a very frustrating stop for him, though, filled with errors as the team tried to get him away. They were still connected when he pulled forward. Shades of Lloyd Ruby. Fortunately, they didn't pull the hose free. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, here's the problem on the Patrick Racing team with Scott Pruitt. During the time that it took to try and get the pack up, Scott Pruitt literally ran out of fuel, and he had to come in dead stick. Now, Pat Patrick is the car owner, and Pat, this is not what you wanted to see. You were shown in 5th position, and then you ran the car out of fuel under yellow.
We had no choice, Jack. These stupid rules they have here, they close the pits. You can't come in if you're out of fuel. If you do, you get black flagged. It's horrible. I can't believe it.
Well, here's the situation, gentlemen. Here's what happens under the rules. Until the pace car gets the leader, the pits are closed for service. Well, there was a mistake made. They had a problem picking up who the correct leader was. So lap after lap ticked off with the pits closed. We were in the end of the window for pit stops for many of the front runners. And what happened was Pruitt ran out of methanol.
Yeah, they originally picked up Andretti and then had to cycle everybody through until they had Villeneuve, and then he went into the pits almost as soon as they had him.
You got to really sympathize with Pat Patrick on that. He has to be right.
And Jack, that closed pits business, of course, removes some of the tactical advantage of having a man like Jim McGee on your team.
We come back to the green light. And we're back racing again, riding on Bobby Rahall's nose as we head down into turn 1 at better than 215 miles an hour. The leader is Andretti. Scott Goodyear is in second. There is Michael. The order now with the pit stops. Some of these slower cars and backfield cars are mixed in with the leaders of the race. There's the running order after 42 laps. As we look at the Valvoline leaderboards,
also, let's keep in mind, Paul, that these guys have been watching weather. We're getting a lot of sunshine. They're changing their plans. When they see sunshine, the clouds breaking up, the teams start going into 500-mile plan modes for their pit stops, etc., instead of a scared half-a-lap race.
The car directly in front of Michael Andretti, the car in the lead of this group, is Teo Fabi. He's running 11th, in position to be going down a lap to the leader, Michael Andretti. Teo Fabi on the left.
Andretti is 5 seconds ahead of the second place car of Scott Goodyear, and then Jack Villeneuve is just a little bit back, about 2 seconds back from Goodyear. Fourth place is now Ribeiro, then Gugelmin, Bosell, Johansson, and Sullivan.
You see Michael Andretti's stats. Of course, the one stat that never really comes up is the unlucky times that the whole Andretti family has had here at this track. You wonder now, perhaps with Mario out of competition, you see Scott Goodyear coming by Hiro Matsushita there. If maybe Mario took that bad luck with him and there's a chance for Michael to win here today. Certainly he's doing great so far.
Okay, clarification of a report coming from race control. They indicate that the problem was not so much with how the pace car picked up the field, but with the fact that Villeneuve did not pick the pace car up properly, and that caused for the delay. There is Jack Villeneuve. He runs in third place right now.
Actually, that pit stop problem didn't really cost him that much. It was under the yellow, and he was terrific getting the clutch in, getting the car started again.
Yeah, it really didn't hurt anything, Sam, but it certainly did hurt the Pat Patrick car.
Good presence of mind for the young Canadian.
Before the pits were closed, this is what Jack was talking about. When the yellow flag came out, certain crew chiefs, certainly Jim McGee among those, would call their cars to dive into the pits.
Andre Ribeiro there, he currently runs in fourth place in the 31 car. The second of the Honda-powered cars here, the fastest rookie in the field. Yellow, blue, and red, the colors. Very likable young man.
Ribeiro, of course, had the accident in practice the day before qualifying, shook him up. You see him on
Davy Jones making a move inside of Matsuda.
Davy Jones in the red car. He would have been down at the Charlotte 600 after this race. That was his plan, to try to do both races the way John Andretti did last year, but he crashed his Winston Cup car.
If everybody notices that the cars go down the straightaway, they seem to be about the same speed. They're picking up drafts. And then when you get to the end of the straightaway is where the cars pull out and do their passing. And sometimes when you have two cars there, it's really a good draft to get.
So Ribeiro still on the move. We'll keep an eye on him as he runs in fourth place.
Way out there, Paul.
Ari got way high.
He's slowing.
Almost crashed out there. He was in the gray stuff. Only experience kept him going. Look how much slower he's going after that scare.
So he gathers the car back under him and tries to get her back under operation. The question was, for a moment there, everybody's so concerned about the engine on these cars. Was it the engine? Here comes Raul Boesel into the pits. He's answering a black flag for a stop-and-go penalty. He ran over a hose on the way out of his pit stop. So Boesel has now answered that black flag. Leader is still Michael Andretti. There he is. Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, this is Buddy Lazier, who is the third member of Team Menard. Buddy, what dropped you out of the race?
Well, the car was really fantastic, and we were able to pass a lot of people. Our fuel pressure dropped down to about 10, and it was, we were running 7,000 RPMs, and it was dropping in RPM. But for the first 5 or 10 laps, it felt really good. It's the best car I've ever been in. It was so exciting, and to have it in with a bad fuel pump it gets you right here.
Gentlemen, remember, this team has experienced fuel pump problems all month. That's one of the things that they worked on since they qualified on the pole position. They refashioned fuel pumps. This does not look good for the team if this early one of the members has had a fuel pump problem.
Jack, I think one of the things you brought up earlier is the only run these Menards once a year. That really hurts them overall.
All right, now the word comes from the stewards of the race and race control while we watch Michael, the leader, and we look for Jack Villeneuve, who runs in third place in that blue and white number 27. Because he did not pick the pace car up properly, there he is. They're going to assess a two-lap penalty. A two-lap penalty on this car. They'll just take it off of his total and drop him down through the field.
Well, that's got to be a disastrous thing. I'll guarantee you, Barry Green is going to really worry about this one. This is a serious penalty.
So Andretti leads, Goodyear second. With that penalty, Ribeiro moves up into third. Now here's a look at them trying to get Villeneuve about 10 minutes ago behind the pace car.
Now that's Villeneuve on the outside of the pace car. He went by the pace car. Now he's coming back to it. So far, he hasn't broken any rules.
And the move of not following those orders precisely cost him 2 laps in the race, and he has dropped well down in the field. In fact, out of the top 20. So Jack Villeneuve with a tremendous penalty. They haven't assessed one like that in several years at Indianapolis. Now he runs in 24th position. The leader of the race is Michael Andretti. We'll return with more of the Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The end of the 50 laps. For all of you entered in the Valvoline Indy 500 Race to Riches contest who correctly guessed the leader, please call the 800 number now for your chance to win. Good luck.
Here's the race summary after 50 laps. We've had 5 lead changes, 5 different drivers. Michael was leading at the 50 lap point. 2 caution periods totaling 17 laps, including that accident that involved 6 different cars on the start of the race. And very shortly, we should be able to give you a further update on driver Stan Fox, who was transported to Methodist Hospital of Indiana from the Track Medical Center here. Now, here is the 31 car. That's Ribeiro. And they black flagged him because he was way over the speed limit of the pits. He was going 132 miles an hour, and he was in 3rd place at the time he answered this black flag.
Well, Andre is a rookie, but that seems like a huge oversight for anybody.
Well, it shows you that they just can't tell speed themselves. A lot of these cars have the computer set where if they're in a certain gear, they can only turn a certain RPM during the pit deal. Apparently, he doesn't have one.
Computer speed limit at 100 miles an hour. Let's look down at the stories now throughout the race. We mentioned them at starting, beginning with the tracking of the engines here. Well, one of the Menards is out, 2 remain in, and Hondas are up at the front of the field. Michael Andretti is the leader of the race. Started 4th, now 1st. Led 33, as you see, of the 59 laps, and he is running a torrid pace. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, at one time, this group, Team Green, saw themselves running in the top 3. And now you're all the way back to 27th after a 2-lap penalty. What does that do to your chances in this event?
Well, I wouldn't count us out yet, Jack. Obviously, we're devastated. I can't understand what the hell they think they're doing out there, but they waved us by twice, you know what I mean? All the driver does is do what the pace car said, and I think I don't think it's a very good decision what they're doing, but we just got to soldier on. We'll just fight a little bit later.
Well, we saw on the video when he finally got packed up properly. We didn't get a chance to see it on the video when he went by the pace car, but what was the conversation with USAC like?
I just voiced my opinion. I mean, the driver says he was waved by. That's what I've told USAC. Thanks, Jack.
Paul?
We saw Lyondike was into the pits while we were talking with Barry Green. And we did not see then the actual video of what USAC perceived to be the violations. We saw it when he was finally picked up.
The car directly ahead of Michael Andretti, who you see here, is his teammate, Paul Tracy, in the white car with red on it there. You see Paul Tracy. Michael Andretti is about to put his teammate 1 lap down, but the team of Newman Haas, so far shut out for many years, is very well positioned in the race here so far.
Paul Tracy He started 16th, now moves up into 6th place. Now let's consider these other stories of the day. We were talking about the engines. Well, Goodyear has been looking very strong. One Menard is out of the race. The second is the tire companies. Well, Firestone runs in 2nd place right now. Wide open competition. 6 cars run right now on the lead lap with some interesting names like Guzman, Johansson, and Paul Tracy. And then the weather. Well, it's still sunny. 77 degrees, may even get hotter. And Arie Luyendyk, that stall in the pits may have been very costly for him. We'll continue to track these stories today. We've had 2 caution periods. As Paul Tracy right there behind Michael Andretti, of course, not in contest on the course. This could be Michael's year. The first time he's ever driven here without his dad.
That was bad for Paul Tracy, though, because he just got put down that lap that he didn't want to get put down, Paul.
Robbie Gordon is into the pits. He has not been a factor. He came into the pits running in 17th. There's a new camera position for us at the end of the front straightaway. Great shot where you can see everybody coming down. We'll listen for a second and see if we can hear Gordon and Walker on two-way now.
Pits going on to the back straightaway.
Apparently everything nice and smooth. No two-way communications between the two, as assuming that all of those radios are properly operating. Remember the concern at the start of the race.
Robbie Gordon's got to be an awful sad driver right now. I think himself and plus a lot of...
You see the white on his tires. Those are the stickers. Did we hear something from him?
Yes, we did hear something. Didn't come in clear, Stan, but I started to say they've got to be really upset over this because he was one of the favorites to win this race.
So it's a game.
We got a race car, boys. This thing is fast. We're going to need to be. We've got to catch up with Michael. He's about 12 seconds ahead of you, so hustle it all the way. Michael's coming into pits, it looks like. Hustle it all the way.
Leader of the race, lap 65, Michael Andretti, in for his second pit stop of the day. 18 seconds back as he headed for the pits with Scott Goodyear. Let's go to Gary.
Tim Bumps bangs that right front wheel and goes to work with a wheel gun. They made a wing change on the last time. They're still staying with that primary Goodyear tire. They haven't gone to the option. They like the way the car's handling. No change at the front of the car, just waiting to complete the refueling. He's gone. One turn.
Looked all routine for Michael on the 66th lap. Goodyear took over the lead of the race. Guzman is now second. You're on board with the leader, Scott Goodyear.
Another thing about that Scott Goodyear tire car that we're talking about or looking at there, just believe that engine, when they want to go fast with it, turns 14,500 RPM. Amazing.
Paul Tracy was running in 9th. There's Andre Ribeiro coming in. And there's Scott Goodyear in, the leader of the race. 24 car.
Now let's see if they make any wing adjustments to their cars. Being very careful not to violate the speed limit there. Stop and go penalty here is really serious.
Let's go to Jack.
So far, gentlemen, they have made no chassis adjustments to this car. Now they're going to change to one full turn in the right side wing in 14.9. But the most incredible fact is when you start to log in pit stops, the car that is having the worst fuel economy, Arie Luyendyk in the V6 Menard. The best is the Honda, Gary Gerald.
Jack, we saw no changes on Michael Andretti's stop, but for his teammate Paul Tracy, who's been battling his way forward in the field, they went up one full turn on the right front wing. We'll see if his car handles any better now.
And again, that right front wing going up on it is to make the front end hold better. I keep telling people so they can follow the adjustments of the cars.
With that Scott Goodyear stop, Mauricio Guzman becomes the 153rd driver to lead at Indianapolis.
Winning a championship's a tough deal. You got to win it real bad. And when you want it about as bad as you can, you better go out and get yourself some Goodyear Eagle tires. Because no matter how bad you want it, Without Goodyear, you ain't gonna get it.
Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
They wanted me to wear a tux for this commercial, but like I told them, legends can wear anything they want.
The 79th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. Cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place. Valvoline, the #1 choice of America's top mechanics. And Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Back at Indianapolis, Mauricio Gugelmin is the leader of the race, the Brazilian. He made his last and only pit stop on lap 42. He should be due in shortly, but now he adds his name to race leaders at Indianapolis. Bobby Rahal was running back just out of the top 10 when he came in for what should have been a routine stop, watching the pit speed limit, looking to find his pit here, and this happened. Oh, wrong pit.
Well, that was a costly mistake for him. Now he's got to go slow, completely to the pits, get out of the racetrack, get back up to speed, and still do this again. So that was costly.
So while we watch the leader, Mauricio Gugelmin, we have an official update on Stan Fox. He is still unconscious. He is at Methodist Hospital of Indiana. The report is he has a closed head injury, and he is in surgery. Now, Jerry Punch, a closed head injury. What are we talking about?
Paul, that's sort of a generic term that goes everything from goes all the way from a mild concussion to a more serious injury involving a bleed into or on the surface of the brain. Now, you got to believe if he's gone to surgery, it's more toward the more severe degree, and we'll try to get a further update from the hospital on Stan Fox.
Jerry Bunch, of course, is a medical doctor, can help us with some of those things. Stan Fox is listed in serious condition at Methodist Hospital of Indiana. Now, after the race, we zoom off to the Lone Star State for the final 9 holes of the JCPenney LPGA Skins game. Laura Davies has won 5 skins for $100,000, but Patty Sheehan leads the way with $110,000 after winning 4 skins. Only 9 skins remain. That's today at 3:30, 2:30 Central Time, right here on ABC Sports. Now, while we have a Brazilian in the lead, you can imagine how crazy they're going in Brazil. Let's listen in on the Brazilian television coverage.
Eu vi várias vezes, inclusive eu estava junto com o Roger e a gente tocou o replay para ver o que aconteceu e realmente ele perdeu a aderência da traseira. Eu acho que ele estava muito baixo na curva e deu o que a gente chama de overcorrect. Ele corrigiu o carro demais, o carro virou praticamente a 90 graus contra o muro e bateu um impacto violento, realmente foi terrível o impacto.
Como é que acontece, Emerson? Eu nunca vi aquela imagem depois de 92, quando a segurança na Índia aumentou muito. Aquela imagem da parte da frente do carro sair e ficar com as pernas praticamente, vamos colocar.
So with Emerson Fittipaldi as the analyst, in Portuguese, the transmission down to Brazil. Announcers who are, by the way, with us throughout the year. Some fairly fun guys, too.
Yeah, remember that Mauricio is a big hero down in Brazil. He appears in ads for, I think, poultry stuff, the chicken business. His father's a timber merchant and an antique dealer. He's been famous down there for a long time.
Michael Andretti makes his move as Gugelmin heads for the pits, and Michael Andretti goes for the lead of the race once again. Mauricio Gugelmin makes his second stop of the day, and Michael Andretti assumes the lead. He was closing quickly on Gugelmin as he slowed down, and then Andretti came into the pits as well. Now, Andretti last made a stop just 10 laps ago, so this stop for Andretti is not routine. Gugelmin's stop is. Here's the Andretti stop. We're under the green. Michael, when Gugelmin slowed down, you saw him get out a little bit there, and he reported that he touched the wall, so he headed right down into the pits.
That won't make Michael too happy. He's going to be screaming about that, saying that Gugelmin caused him to do that. And I don't know which side is right on that one.
Remember at Miami earlier in the year when Michael rode for several laps after contact with the wall and another car? Here's Michael in the pits still.
They're really
this
looking
is serious,
it over.
Obviously.
Jack Villeneuve comes into the pits. Of course, he has not been a factor since that 2-lap penalty. He dropped down to 27th, now runs 19th as he came in on this stop. They're still working on Michael's car.
He's obviously told him that it didn't feel good after he touched the wall. Of course, we don't know exactly how hard he hit the wall, but it bent something him because Michael has a super good feel for things like that.
Villeneuve back into the fight. The terrible Andretti luck. Michael Andretti climbs out. Many thought this was his best chance ever. And Michael Andretti's out of the car.
I think this is sad for everybody. I mean, you just really know. He's really controlled this race, really been quick, and we all thought he might win this one.
He was driving just the kind of conservative race.
Let's go to Gary.
Michael Andretti has come over the wall. We believe that it was a rear wishbone. We have the video contact where he was trying to get around, we believe, Gugelmin, and apparently got the rear up there. They believe it's a bent suspension. As soon as he gets the helmet off, he's huddled with Tim Bumps, his crew chief, his engineer, Peter Gibbons, his wife, Sandy, is there, and we'll try to get a comment. Boy, we thought maybe the Andretti jinx would be passed. But apparently that's not the case, Paul.
Let's take a look at that replay. Maybe we can see exactly what happened to Michael. I'm sure that's what he's waiting for, as no, we've got another car in trouble.
Looks like,
and the yellow comes out.
Sharp.
Yep. Now here is Michael Andretti. Yeah, that's not a brush. That's a solid hit. So as we come back to live coverage, that is Scott Sharp that you saw just get into the wall just before we ran Michael's replay for you, and the yellow light is out. This is the third caution period of the day. Scott Sharp obviously okay. His rescuers are right there. Let's go back to Gary Gerald.
The helmet has come off, and Michael, I don't know what to say. Every race this year you've been a leader. What happened in this situation?
I guess Mauricio was coming into the pits because he slowed down, and I had to run, and I went to the outside because I didn't want to hit him, and it's like ice, and I hit the wall.
How had the car been performing up to that point?
Beautiful. Best I've ever had here. The car was great.
Was this your best chance to win the 500?
It was one of them. One of them.
The story in the eyes tell you so much.
That's what happened when a car gets out of the groove. Now you can watch right here. He's coming out. He's out of the black, what we call the groove. He's in the gray. The car just doesn't have as much adhesion. His tires probably aren't very new, and boom, look at the right front. Hit the wall fairly hard, even though it didn't bend anything that's obvious to us.
All right, now, here's another view. That's Gugelmin as he was trying to... Now, actually, Gugelmin was way down low there, and there you saw Michael as he came up, brushed the wall, hit it hard enough to do damage and to take him out of the race.
But what happens in a deal like that, Paul, is that shot really started way back in the short chute because of the speeds that we have. So Michael got out into the gray and just couldn't get it back down into the black.
What all this does is give Scott Goodyear the lead, moves Gugelmin to second, and Paul Tracy to third. This was Scott Sharp's situation. Same place on the track coming off of the fourth turn.
You know, that could also mean that there's some fluids down there, Paul. We should think about that, too. You know, a little water, oil spillage that you can't see.
Well, you heard Michael say it was very, very slick there. You saw that Scott Sharp was okay. But we'll keep an eye on that section of the track as the United States Auto Club officials are. And we're under the third yellow, the third caution period of the day, with Goodyear as the leader. Indianapolis under yellow. Here's a replay of what got Michael Andretti in trouble. That's Mauricio Gugelmin just ahead as they come across the short chute at the north end.
Now watch, Gugelmin went to the left. He's plenty low. That thing was slippery. Michael wasn't all that much out of the groove. Watch him, kaboom! He hits the wall. What happened, Paul, I think, is that the racetrack has got some liquids. It's very slippery there. Gugelmin was totally out of the way. Michael was just out a little bit.
Well, there is some evidence that would prove that, because about a lap later, this was Scott Sharp coming into the same turn, only he lost it well before the corner and got up into the wall. And then the leader of the race was Scott Goodyear. He headed for the pits. The stop was routine, taking advantage of the yellow flag. Nice smooth work. Remember, he is one of the drivers that is not a regular in the series.
Nor are some of his pit crew regulars. Some of them were making their first stops in anger, so to speak, in this race today.
And he stalled it. And then it was a little too far forward, and they also broke an air hose at about this time. So now confusion was reigning over the wall there as they tried to get it under control, get the car back so they could get it started.
Steve Horn,
finally they pushed it back.
Told me this is exactly what they feared could happen. because of the inexperience of the crew.
Scott Goodyear finally got it going, and he dropped to 7th place. Mauricio Gugelmin is still the leader. We'll return with more of the Indy 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
News on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
We're in the leader's pit. Scott Goodyear and Steve Horn calls the shots for this team. Steve, you brought the leader in out of sequence. Why?
We wanted to make a little handling change on the car. Scott says the track's pretty slippery today, a lot of rubber out there. So we thought it was an opportune time to make a handling change. Car was getting held up a little bit in traffic.
Now the traffic is creating problems. Now that pit stop took you out of the lead and dropped you back in the pack. You've got to hope that that chassis adjustment lets you run a little better, because now you're stuck in the traffic.
Yeah, we're back in 4th place, but Scott needed the change, he felt, to run in traffic, so now is the time to do it.
Well, Gary Gerald, he's also running on the hard Firestone tires, the same style, the same compound that he qualified in.
And doing a heck of a job. I'll tell you another team that's very happy with this turn of events. Remember back to the very start of the race, the radio problem for Robbie Gordon. He lost the lap. They just got the lap back. He's listed in the number 6 spot in the lead pylon. Derek Walker and company down here very happy. Jerry?
Hey, talk about happiness, Gary. They are smiling here in Mauricio Gugelmin's pit. He's getting excellent gas mileage. He pitted the first time on lap 41, then ran 37 laps, came in again on lap 77. So they're getting outstanding gas mileage. And behind me, Andy Brown, the engineer, is making the call. Their only concern here, significant right rear tire wear. And they are not using the soft tires Goodyear brought. They're using the tires that they qualified on. So we'll watch tire wear here in Gugelmin's pit. Paul?
We should be coming back to green shortly. The pace car is already accelerating across the north chute. We'll take a look at the Valvoline running order here as they head back toward the green flag. Mauricio Gugelmin is the leader, followed by Tracy, and then the rookie, Andrew Ribeiro. And we're green. Here we go again. Looking for Gugelmin in the middle of all that. There he is, swinging to the outside. That's Rahal just in front of him.
Dangerous part right there, Paul, whittling his way up through the pack like that. He's right in the middle of it for a while.
Paul Tracy just a few cars back. Runs in 2nd place. Ribeiro 3rd. Sullivan 4th. Sullivan, the teammate to Gugelmin, the leader of the race.
Gugelmin and Sullivan both run for Pac West. They're doing really well.
Black flag will be displayed to car 33. That's Teo Fabi. Exceeding the pit speed limit, they'll bring him in for a stop-and-go penalty. Update on Paul Tracy. Here's Gary.
Oh, the crew is laid out. They're waving him on pit road. They believe that he's got a tire puncture as they came green. He's running in 2nd place. This is a huge, huge disappointment. We wait with the team here on pit road.
Tracy peeled off, is on the pit road right now, Gary. There he is.
He comes into the stop. They'll change, of course, all 4. We were told they believed it was on the rear. Oh, costly, costly stop now. Of course, they top off with fuel. They're holding him, holding him. They're making a wicker bill change on the rear wing. It's complete. He's gone. How many spaces did he lose on the racetrack? That's going to be the key.
Well, he dropped down to 9th place as he headed out. He'll drop further as he comes back up to speed. And there is Johansson, loses it. Bobby, what happened there?
On the pit apron. Paul, I didn't see it. I honestly didn't see it down here. I was into the monitor. I did see it there.
Right rear is flat there. Yellow flag is out again.
It looked like a tire exploded, but why and how did it happen down on the pit apron?
So Stefan Johansson, look at his helmet there. You see those markings on the side that are blue? They used to be green. Team convinced if green was bad luck in Indianapolis, changed the color. Here's a replay. Watch Johansson.
Now he's clear down on the apron, right there, right in front of us there.
Oh, right
all
rear
of a sudden, the right rear tire shredded. That means it was probably low, out of air, and when they're like that, they just come apart. Then, of course, he has no direction. Now, it also could have been that he ran over something, and then they look like they explode.
So obviously, Stefan Johansson is okay. The pits are closed until the pace car groups everybody up. Gugelmin is still the leader. Ribeiro is 2nd.
Beyond the 9th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Goodyear, #1 in tires. Valvoline, the #1 choice of America's top mechanics. Chevrolet, the cars and trucks 36 million people depend on every day. Genuine Chevrolet. And the beer that's colder, bolder, yet smooth as ice. Molson Ice from Canada, the land where ice was born.
Back at Indianapolis, here's a replay of what caused Stefan Johansson's problem. See that piece of debris lying out in the track? Now watch Johansson. Bang, right over it. That took the right rear. He very quickly dived for the escape road, and his race appears to be in trouble. Jerry Punch, you can update this.
We're in Mauricio Gugelmin's pit, and his engineer, Andy Brown, behind me, talking to Mauricio right now. But what Andy was saying a moment ago was they saw the debris come off the car right in front of him as he's talking to Mauricio Gugelmin. They told Mauricio to possibly move to the inside. Andy, what happened with the debris?
Well, the guys on the pit wall spotted some debris in the middle of the track on the pit straight here. So we radioed Morris and called him over to the pit wall to miss the debris. Excuse me.
And as he talks to his driver, what happened? He missed it, but unfortunately for Stefan Johansson, he did not. Paul?
Morris, that's what they call Gugelmin. Now let's take a look at the tires here in this race and how we're running with a Goodyear in front and then 2 Firestones, then Danny Sullivan on a Goodyear. And we'll take a look down through the field on this. Now, the history of tires here at Indianapolis has been one of rich competition. Sam Posey can look back over those tire wars.
Every year since 1972, the winning tire at Indy has been built by Goodyear. But a look at the race's 78-year history shows that Firestone has nearly twice as many victories. It was Firestone who won the first race, and for decades their continued success made them synonymous with Indy. Ads annually linked Firestone to the race, and sales figures proved that winning sold tires. In the post-World War II era, Firestone rode the rising tide of Indy's popularity, and by the mid-1960s, their arch-rival Goodyear knew they could not afford to leave the performance field of Firestone. Goodyear wanted Indy, but it wouldn't be easy.
After all those years of Firestone, you couldn't get passes, you couldn't, it was very hard to get practice time. It was a tough situation. The Firestone racing director was on the board of USAC, and they were really encouraging us in those days.
Spearheading Goodyear's initial attack was A.J. Foyt, and after 5 years of intense effort, Goodyear and A.J. won, snapping Firestone's 43-year streak. The next 6 years saw the tire war rage. Drivers, lured by large retainers, took sides in a way that split the racing community and families down the middle. In 1974, Goodyear's technology and money forced Firestone out. As ads trumpeted Goodyear's success, Firestone watched as their rival reaped the benefits of racing.
You look back to 1974 when Firestone got out of the Indy 500 and sales and market share had declined. They were eroding away. And in 1988, when Bridgestone Corporation purchased Firestone, right then and there was an inkling, a thought that maybe we'll take Firestone brand back to Indy to resurrect the brand. And then in 1991, that decision got studied very thoroughly. 1992, late 92, we made the decision. May of 93, we made an announcement, and here we are.
Firestone's comeback placed Scott Goodyear on the front row, an irony that provided a light moment for the giant tire companies.
I think Goodyear stands to gain as well as Firestone here, no matter what happens, because we're all getting a lot more attention for the right reasons than if only one tire company were here. And I think we're both winning at this point in time, certainly in attracting more attention to our mainline passenger tires.
Nonetheless, when this race is over, only one tire company will be able to claim victory. Will Goodyear extend its streak, or will the new guys, who really started it all, get back on top?
And Leo Mel, one of the principals, of course, in that piece, is here live now. Leo, how many of your drivers, of your 25 in the field, have gone to your optional tire?
Well, not all the 25 are left, but everybody, all but four cars have switched to the option tire as the wear's gotten better.
How unprecedented was it to bring in the optional tire with only the 2-hour practice session on Thursday?
Well, we've done that sort of thing before. We've got a lot of lab experience, and we tested it well elsewhere, so we were pleased to do that.
So all in all, your evaluation of the race to this point in terms of your tires and the wear?
Well, it's exactly what we expected. The prime tire was wearing out quite fast at the beginning of the race. Now it's stopped wearing out, and we switched to the option, and it looks very good for wear.
Thank you, Leo.
Thanks, Gary.
Still under caution. We expect to go back to green at the conclusion of this lap. They are, by the way, going to black flag as soon as they go back green. Teo Fabi, car 33 again. And the reason is because when they black flagged him before and brought him in, he broke the speed limit on the way out. Saturday, ABC Sports travels to Dublin, Ohio for one of the most prestigious events on the PGA Tour. Join Jack Nicklaus as he hosts an all-star international field of golf's best in the Memorial Tournament sponsored by Dean Witter. Coverage begins Saturday, June 3rd, right here on ABC Sports. Mauricio Gugelmin is the leader. Andre Ribeiro is second, and Scott Goodyear, his teammate, is third. Stefan Johansson's car was brought around to his pit. They did the repairs to it, and Johansson should be back in the run. Dwayne Sweeney gives him the green flag, and here we go. Gugelmin the leader. Ribeiro 2 cars back. Scott Goodyear trying to move on Ribeiro. Sullivan is fourth. Gordon is fifth, back on the leader lap. Christian Fittipaldi, Gordon's teammate, is sixth. You ride with Scott Goodyear.
We talked about expecting the unexpected, and certainly here we have a second-year man in the lead. Gugelmin, Ribeiro, a rookie following him, and they're both in good shape. Not a fluke situation at all.
Goodyear tries to reel in Ribeiro. 105 laps to go. That means that in 6 laps, this will become an official race. That is, if the skies would open up, and that doesn't seem possible at the moment, but should the weather affect the run, once they've crossed the 101st lap, it is an official race, and a winner can be declared.
Amazing, because the drivers went to bed last night amid thunderstorms and woke up with it still raining at about 5 o'clock this morning.
And as you guys know, I can see all the way to Terre Haute, and I don't see any bad weather, so that's good news for all of us.
Update now on Scott Sharp after his accident in turn 4. They have taken Scott to Methodist Hospital for observation. He apparently was hit by a tire during the accident, hit in the helmet, and so they want to take him in for observation. Here's the pole sitter, Scott Brayton, in. And
coming in too slow, and there comes
bad news. Collins coming off.
We imagined that they might have troubles with the Menards, but they've kept going. It's just that they've been wounded, so to speak, and have been dropping back for this reason or that reason.
So if this is a serious problem, and it appears to be, Ari Leyendijk will be the hope, and he currently runs in 15th. There's the Danny Sullivan car. Sullivan runs in 4th right now. Let's go down to Gary Gerald, get an update on Scott Brayton.
Well, we just arrived on the scene looking around the corner. He's still in the car, but they're pulling all the bodywork off. As you mentioned, what they do in these situations, it's usually an electronics problem that they're chasing, and they're working in the vicinity on the right side pod as if that might be the case. Sonny, any indication of the problem, Sonny?
Not yet.
Sonny Meyer, who builds these engines, the Menard, with all that horsepower, still shaking his head. He doesn't know.
Sonny out of Louis Meyer's family, the first 3-time winner of the race. So we watch Sullivan.
Remember that Danny Sullivan won this race back in 1985. He spun and yet went on to win the race. He was out of IndyCar racing last year, and it's a terrific comeback that he has been able to make this year with the Pac West team, which was new last year, but is really coming to its own this year.
On board with Robbie Gordon as he makes a move on Danny Sullivan. It's a battle for 4th, and Robbie Gordon moves into 4th. He gets around Danny Sullivan.
Keep it on, keep it on.
You can also see how wide that Robbie Gordon went as he went under Danny Sullivan. He didn't even get on the rumble strip. Robbie's normal group around here is a lot higher than the other guy.
So Robbie Gordon moves forward into 4th place. You heard Derek Walker, the team owner, congratulate him on their 2-way communications. He's been trying to insist that Robbie move forward as quickly as he can now and stay in touch with the leaders. He's doing just that.
And just remember that Derek Walker was the crew chief that masterminded many of Rick Mears's come from behind victories here. We might be seeing something like that again.
Dwayne Sweeney has just shown the field the cross flags indicating the halfway point, the 250th mile, the 100th lap of the Indianapolis 500, 79th running. Gugelmin is the leader.
Robbie Gordon's really on the move. As he come 2-3, I noticed he just pulled Danny Sullivan by quite a bit. So he's probably be getting his car handling a lot better. He's definitely moving faster, Paul.
Andrew Ribeiro runs in second, Scott Goodyear third, then Robbie Gordon. There he is. Gordon looking so very strong now.
Gordon won at Phoenix just 8 weeks ago. That was his first Indy.
Goodyear's next. Goodyear's the guy you're chasing. Right, 7 seconds ahead.
So Derek Walker is just giving Robbie Gordon an update on who to look for. He just said that Goodyear, the third place car, is next. And Sullivan and Christian Fittipaldi now battle. This is a battle for fifth. Danny Sullivan, the car on the left, is in fifth. That's Christian Fittipaldi, another rookie here and teammate to Robbie Gordon, as he runs in sixth. And Scott Brayton, whatever the problem was, they think they may have it fixed, and he heads back into the fight, but well down in the order.
Sullivan, as you can see, has been slowing and is having trouble coming off the turns fast.
Let's update the situation on Brayton. Gary?
John Menard, were you able to determine what the problem was?
No, we changed the spark box and the ECU and everything we could find, but we're not sure if we fixed it or not. I'll know here shortly when he goes out.
He also had indicated, Paul, that there was a possible valve spring that may have been broken.
Well, it acted like either that or like the spark box or something like that was bad. So we changed everything we could. Of course, if it's a valve spring, there's nothing we can do about that. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So we'll keep an eye on Brayton. His teammate Lyondike runs in 15th place. The race is now at the 103rd lap. Whatever happens now, it is an official running of the Indianapolis 500. Right now, Mauricio Gugelmin owns the thing.
Was the race analysis after 100 laps. For all of you entered in the Valvoline Indy 500 Race to Riches contest who correctly guessed the leader, please call the 800 number now for your chance to win. Good luck.
Here's the Valvoline race summary after 100 laps. Mauricio Gugelmin was the leader. The average speed well down off a record owing to the cautions. 5 different leaders, 9 lead changes. We've had 4 cautions accounting for 30 laps, and 9 cars are already out of the race. Now the stories that we talked about, first of all, the cars out. These all as a result of those at the first turn. Carlos Guerrero, Lynn St. James, Scott the Farron, Eric Bachelard, Buddy Luzier. And these are the rest of the cars out, the most recent, of course, being Michael Andretti. What a sad tale that has become. And now the stories that we mentioned at the start of the day. First of all, the engines, keeping track of the Menards and Honda. Well, there are 2 Hondas right now in the top 3, and Scott Brayton has a problem. His teammate, Arie Luyendyk, is running 15th. Secondly, the competition between the tire companies. Then the wide open competition. Well, 5 different leaders, 9 changes, and some very unusual names. We've seen some second-year drivers in the top of the order. The weather remains just perfect for racing. And the pit strategy, well, Michael Andretti hit the pits. That took him out.
And to add one more story, it's a field day for Brazil with Brazilians 1st, 2nd, and 5th right now.
This is the 50th year, by the way, that a Goodyear blimp has appeared at the Indianapolis 500, giving you these great shots of the main straightaway as they come across the yard of bricks and that white finish line that everybody cherishes at lap 200. Let's go to the pits and Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, one of those Brazilians that Sam Posey talked about is rookie Andre Ribeiro, who is running in 2nd spot. But he has reported in that he may have ingested something into the radiators because of the fact that the water temperature has begun not only to escalate, to get up right by the pin where it could begin to overheat and create problems. But you see the computers here? That's all the onboard telemetry, and all the Honda engineers have been monitoring it very closely. The window is open for a pit stop. If he has taken on some debris, they'll be able to brush it back out, and that should, and we say should, cure the problem.
As we went to Jack, you saw Eliseo Salazar move around Sullivan and into 6th. Now Sullivan has his hands full because Jimmy Vasser and Bobby Rahal, you're on board with Rahal now, lined up right behind him. Here's how the rookies are looking today with the fastest look rookie, Andre Ribeiro, running in second place. Christian Fittipaldi having a good race, and Eliseo Salazar just making that great pass on the 85 winner, Danny Sullivan.
You know, Paul, another thing, I've been watching the speeds of some of these cars, like mid-race type of thing. The fastest guy has been Scott Pruitt.
Jimmy Vasser moves out and around Danny Sullivan, and Vasser moves into 7th place.
Started to say that Scott.
Now Rahall's going to try him, Bobby.
Boy, I saw that. My Lord, they're good. They're really having a dogfight right in the middle of the race now. Anyway, Scott Pruitt's running 219 miles an hour. That's really fast. Then we have some other cars that are running like 216, like Villeneuve, really moving up.
Rahal, as Guerrero came sliding in there. Not a move for position, because Guerrero's actually sitting down a lap, but boy, he's trying to get his lap back as he came around Rahal and stuck his nose into the middle of the battle between Rahal and Sullivan. Guerrero, the white 21 car.
It just shows you, if you lift off the throttle even for a second, this is how much momentum you lose.
And as we watch the cars going around the track right now, remember, about mid-race is when the track is as slippery as it gets. It gets real bad early, and then it gets better as the race goes on. Let's go to Jack.
Well, Paul, Scott Pruitt is being shown in the 13th position. Here's the first pit strategy. Do you see the tires sitting on the wall? They're not going to change tires. It's a stop-and-go, fuel-only pit stop. They think this could get them further up in the field because race traffic is so difficult to circumvent. They tap the fuel man, they fill the tank up, and he's off and away.
There's that.
Scott Pruitt came in 14th, out in 16th.
The idea is that, there's Eliseo Salazar. The idea is that those Firestone tires can really last through several pit stops. That's the hope, anyway.
I just wanted to mention while we're watching Salazar in the pits here, people wonder why the track gets better later in the race. It's because of fluid that leak out of the car. All slowly gets soaked back in. So the track gets worse as the race starts, then after that it gets better.
So Gugelman is the leader of the race while most of the cars begin making their stops now. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Andre Ribeiro, your second place runner with the Honda Firestone package. And you see the crewman is actually looking in, trying to scrape away the radiators, and they have indeed pulled away some debris that would have accounted for the overheating in 17.2 seconds for Andre Ribeiro.
And keep in mind, those radiators are just as small as they can possibly be because that's straightaway speed. So any debris that gets in there hurts the cooling system.
Jack, from where we sit, we can see debris on the outside of several of the turns. The track's as messy as I've ever seen it, and I think we might have this situation afflict other cars as well before the end of the day.
Andre Ribeiro came in 3rd, dropped down to 7th during his stop, showing you how critical those pit crews are with traveling speed at 220 miles an hour. The cars are every second going the length of a football field plus, well over 100 yards. There's the leader, Mauricio Gugelman. Scott Goodyear is 2nd. Robbie Gordon, with everybody falling out on pit stops, has moved up into 3rd place. Christian Fittipaldi is 4th, and Jimmy Vasser is now in 5th.
That's really been some good planning on Derek Walker's thing, getting Robbie Gordon all the way back up to 3rd place. It's amazing. We almost rode him off not too long back.
Well, and he's keeping his cars right together, Bobby. His cars are in 3rd and in 4th. So expecting a stop by this car, the Pac West car of Mauricio Gugelman. Danny Sullivan is his teammate, the 85 winner who runs in 15th right now. He's made his turn now onto the pit road, this on the 116th lap.
Watching the speed limit.
And now as Gugelman comes to a stop in front of Jerry Punch.
You heard Leo Mel say that all but 4 cars have switched to the backup tire. 2 of those 4 cars are the Pac West machines of Gugelman and Sullivan. They are staying with the primary tire because of the tire wear on the right rear. Excellent fuel mileage. They have changed 4 tires. They finished the fueling. He is down and away. 15.2 seconds for the Brazilian on his pit stop.
And that spraying that they do at the car when it leaves is water. Water dissolves the alcohol, stops any chance of fire, in case people wonder.
So they decided it's dangerous to change tires mid-race. Scott Goodyear picks up the lead. Gordon is now in 2nd place.
There's Goodyear in the car on the left.
Scott Goodyear with his teammate right there with him.
Remember that this team of Steve Horns is all new for this year, a derivative of their Indy Lights team, the Tasman team.
So Scott Goodyear back in front, the Indianapolis 500 in CART 24. We'll return with more of the Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Wide world of sports.
We're back live in Indianapolis. The temperature 78 degrees, but look down at the bottom at the track temperature, 120 degrees. That doesn't help the grip at all. And the winds out of the south at 21 miles an hour have been blowing quite a bit of debris onto the racetrack, pieces of paper and the like. That's a concern to all the crews, because if they get ingested in the front of those coolers and stop the cooling process in the engine, they can cook an engine in no time. Ribeiro was into the pits. He stalled while he was there. Now he's trying to get out onto the track.
We watched him when he came by here, Paul. He was very slow. Look at him. He wants to pull back in. He's had a vapor lock, or for some reason the engine has just quit.
The yellow comes out for Ribeiro as he raises his hand and says, "I'm stopped." He dropped to 19th position with his stop. So under the yellow again at Indianapolis, the 5th of the day, Andre Ribeiro stopped on the backstretch just off of turn 2. Right now, Raul Boisel is the leader of the race. We'll be back.
The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car. Pick it up, Rusty! Awesome. One opened up.
Today.
Andre Ribeiro trying to limp back to his pits after stalling over on the backstretch. We're still under caution here. Now, earlier today, they ran Formula One in Monte Carlo. I was going to try and warn you to look away if you didn't want to see this. The official results of the race, some people watch that on videotape later in the day, and so we won't verbally mention it. Now, next Sunday, right here on ABC Sports, as we continue under this caution, we will head north as the Indy cars roll onto the 1 mile oval at Milwaukee. The defending champion, Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi will be back, and with a vengeance, as they return to racing at the Miller Genuine Draft 200. That's next Sunday at 1 Eastern, 3 Pacific, here on ABC Sports. And so under the 5th caution of the day, that for Ribeiro, who has already made it back to his pits. Let's give you a rundown through the entire field with Gugelmin and Goodyear continuing their battle. Look at Gordon up there, but perhaps even more important as you look down through this order, look at 11th place, and just beyond that, you're going to see that Jacques Villeneuve has been moving steadily forward through the field. He's back on the lead lap. He has run what we believe to be the fastest lap so far today at 220.9 miles an hour. All of that for him is despite a 2-lap penalty assessed early on. Now let's go down to the pits and Jack Arute.
What a difficult day for Andre Ribeiro. After running as high as in 2nd position, having overheating problems, they solved that. And then all of a sudden he goes out, Paul, and on the way back out after a 2nd pit stop to clean debris, he has an electrical problem develop, and now that is why he is forced to limp all the way back to pit road. It works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. We're back to green.
With Mauricio Gugelmin at the head of the order, Scott Goodyear 1 car back, that's Teo Fabi in between the two of them. Robbie Gordon is 3rd, Bobby Rahal is 4th, Jimmy Vasser is 5th, and Christian Fittipaldi is 6th. They've all just completed stops, 74 laps to go. Look at the debris on the track. That's a real concern.
Gugelmin on the left of your screen. Remember, he's a Formula One veteran. He was never able to win there. Very happy to make the transition over to Indy cars. This is the best race that he has had so far since he came to IndyCar racing.
Now, your weather guy's going to give you another update. The weather looks good. I don't think it can rain for the rest of the race.
That would be great news for everybody here, if it's right. If you're not the typical weatherman, Bobby.
Your Albuquerque weatherman's always right.
So Gugelmin has now completed 3 pit stops thus far in the race. He should be able to finish with just 3 more, depending on the yellows. So he is right on the game plan. Pac West team giving him great service.
There's the 2nd place car of Scott Goodyear. Remember, that has the Honda engine and the Firestone tires. The usual combination.
You know, Sam, we've been wondering about that engine because we know it turns more RPM than any other engine that we've ever had here at Indianapolis. About 1,000 more than the Ford engines do, for example, of which is the majority of the field. And they're still running, haven't given any problems at all.
And remember, Bobby, it was just last year that the Honda engine was sort of run out of here in disgrace when Bobby Rahal couldn't get up to speed with it. So this is, we talked about coming back with a vengeance. It's been terrific for Honda. There goes Robbie Gordon.
Black flag is going to be shown to the 21 car of Roberto Guerrero. Again, a speed limit violation in the pits. You ride with Robbie Gordon. He is in third place. Scott Goodyear is in second, up about 2.5 seconds ahead of him, but look how much distance that translates to on the track. Seems like an almost impossible distance sometimes to make up. Let's go down to Jerry Punch.
Guys, we told you they're getting excellent fuel mileage here from Maurizio Gugelmin. Get a load of this. They pitted on lap 117. They may try to stretch it to lap 150 or 152 for his next stop. And then, if they get a couple of cautions, that may be the last stop they have to make. They are getting outstanding fuel mileage. They will need at most 2 stops, and with a little luck, maybe just 1 more, Paul.
Outstanding, almost unbelievable. The prediction would be 3. So with 71 laps to go, we're going to try to get a little bit ahead on some messages so we can have a nice clear run to the finish. 128 laps complete. Back live in Indianapolis, you look out the back of Scott Goodyear's car as he crosses the start-finish line, and we'll take a look at the lap leaders here in the race. Right now it is Gugelmin that is out in front. Goodyear is second, and you can see that car just behind him. Well, that is Robbie Gordon, who has driven a brilliant race to get back up here into the front of the order. Then behind Gordon is Bobby Rahal. 5th place is Jimmy Vasser, followed by Paul Tracy, Scott Pruitt, Christian Fittipaldi, Danny Sullivan, and Jack Villeneuve is now running in 10th place as he continues to carve his way back up through this field.
14 U.S.-born drivers in the race, Paul, and the highest placed one is Gordon in 3rd.
Scott Goodyear, Honda power. Honda's never started this race. Remember the problems that Bobby Rahal's had the past 2 years. Finally last year in frustration, having to move over to an entirely different engine combination as you're on board with Robbie Gordon. But boy, it's looking so solid here today. Gugelmin out in front of Goodyear by 1.6 seconds.
You know, Paul, pit strategies are working themselves up to where they're going to be really important. There's 4 guys, Pruitt, Villeneuve, Gordon, and Boissel. Then if they have just a little bit of help, they're going to make it on 1 more pit stop. A lot of the other guys are going to have to make 2 more. So pretty soon, we're going to see this come into play big time.
Looks like Paul Tracy in trouble.
Paul Tracy on the pit road at first, now on the backstretch.
There's the yellow. This is going to cause.
He was running 8. That's green right now, not yellow yet. We'll see what it does. Maybe he can limp in.
This is the remaining Newman-Haas car. We spoke of their bad luck as a team here at Indianapolis. They started in 1983. They've never won the race. This was their last hope after Michael Andretti went out, and now things not looking good.
Paul Tracy pulled down onto the runoff lanes. Report his engine was dead as he pulled off.
As he went by us, Paul, his engine was already dead.
So let's get an update on Paul Tracy from Gary.
We're told, Paul, that the throttle cable broke on Paul Tracy's car. That's the reason why he's limping toward home.
Phenomenal.
You see Robbie Gordon here, though. He is on the move. The battle for second is very exciting between Scott Goodyear and Robbie Gordon. There goes Goodyear, and there's Gordon. They're very close. Here we ride with Gordon as he tracks Goodyear ahead of him.
We'll just ride with him and listen to the radio.
Don't take too many chances. Long way to go.
You can tell how Derek works that. 1 minute it's go like heck, the next minute
and we're yellow.
We got a yellow. We got a yellow. No passing.
You saw the yellow wink on there as they were talking. Derek Daly.
We're gonna get him out all over us going to the turn 3.
Derek.
Yeah, you were the faster of the 3.
So with the yellow on again because of Paul Tracy, they'll have to tow him in. 136 laps are now complete at Indianapolis. Into the pits and made a stop under this caution. Jimmy Vasser picked up the lead. You ride with Robbie Gordon, who is in 3rd place, but he had a great stop. It really paid off for him. They were talking back and forth. You were listening as Derek Walker brought him into the pits, radioed him in quickly. Here's that stop as Christian Fittipaldi, his teammate, also comes in front of him. They were worried about debris on the front wing. And there is Mauricio Gugelmin as he rolls out. And now watch for Gordon. There's Gordon. And Gordon beats him out of the pits and comes out ahead and therefore into third place. Gugelmin comes out in fifth. Paul Tracy, broken throttle cable. They push him to the pits. They'll try and get that repaired. 2 weeks from today, ABC's Wide World of Sports travels to Belmont Park in New York for the final jewel of the Chrysler Triple Crown Challenge. Dwayne Lucas brings Kentucky Derby winner Thunder Gulch and Preakness winner Timber Country to the Belmont Stakes. Live coverage begins at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific, Saturday, June 10th, here on ABC Sports. So with the stops, Jimmy Vasser picks up the lead of the Indy 500, another new name at the top of the order here. As we look through the full field rundown at the conclusion of 139 laps. And keeping an eye, too, on Jack Villeneuve, who has really come back from a 2-lap deficit. Unbelievable. Average speed of the race, 156.318 miles an hour. Again, not near the record set by Arie Luyendyk with his win. That because of the 6 cautions of the day. This one, of course, for Paul Tracy. Stan Fox, the report, is still in surgery at Methodist Hospital, still in serious condition. We'll give you further updates as we have them.
In the last 20 years, 14 Indy 500s have been won by drivers who have already won at least once. 9 of those men were Penske drivers, so it's no surprise that we're headed for what looks like a first-time winner.
Here we go again. Vasser in the lead. The 27 car of Villeneuve in second place. So Vasser is actually sitting third in the order. Villeneuve is another 4 cars back. There goes Vasser. Keep an eye on the blue and white car, the 27 of Villeneuve. Played it pretty careful through there, Bobby.
Yes, and the 33 Cale Fabi is in the same lap, Paul, in front of these guys. Now, he's just going like heck because he's got, even though he's in the same lap, he's got all the way back around to make it as they went by.
Got a look at Sam Pedri and Stefan Johansson there, 59 laps to go. There's Goodyear, third place. Robbie Gordon is fourth.
Scott Goodyear, Steve Horn told me the other day, there he goes, ripping by.
He comes around the Menard car.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I think the Menards are crippled at this point. Steve Horn said Scott Goodyear is the most patient driver he has ever worked with, and that, of course, includes Bobby Rahal, a very patient man, and I think that's what you need at this point in the race. You don't need to catapult yourself back into the lead. You just need to think your way through it. There's a lot of racing you left.
Everybody overhauling the pole sitter, Scott Brayton, as he continues to struggle. There's Scott Goodyear. He runs now in his pursuit. That's Scott Pruitt lined up just behind him.
Right, going by Johansson right there.
There's Scott Pruitt as he tries to move inside Johansson, who had his problems earlier on. Remember that right rear tire cut down by debris, but they got the car back and got him in.
It's amazing that Johansson's car still runs after spinning around as much as it did. New tire, or back to the pitch, new tire, and look at him, back in the race and going.
Remember Pruitt running on tires that he's kept on that car for quite a while.
And tires that, by the way, he has literally hundreds of miles of testing last year at the Speedway. Remember, he didn't run in these cars last year while they were testing the tires for Firestone.
Here he comes by Johansson, the bid.
Not a pass for position. And wow, Johansson forces Davy Jones to run real high there.
Boy, he had him way out.
Look at Rahal
there.
Rahal comes up to close. On board with Rahal now.
And just as they came through here, through all that, Paul, got really gusty. That's one of the things that the Thunderheads without rain are doing to the guys.
Rahal battling with Gugelmin. Robbie Gordon's in it as well. It's a battle for third place. Gordon's there right now. Pruitt's part of the battle, too. Now they stretch out just a bit.
Oh, Gordon almost into the wall.
Now that's what I was telling you guys about the gusty of the wind. It's really got gusty just all of a sudden. It's been going up and down all day. But a gust of wind could have done that to him right there.
Gugelmin around Jones, not a battle for position. It's Vassar, Villeneuve, Goodyear, Pruitt, Gugelmin, Rahal, Gordon. That's the lineup. Christian Fittipaldi is 9th. Eliseo Salazar is 10th. There you see the lineup on the Valvoline leaderboard.
Rahal right there on the right of your screen in the black and yellow car.
Rahal is 6th. The car in front of him, Jones, is not a factor in this battle. Jones is running 15th. Rahal's order coming through this race, moving his way forward into 6th place. Now back on board with Gordon, 7th place. Remember, at the front of this field is Jimmy Vassar.
Yes, Paul, and talking about Vassar, I think he's still going to need 2 more pit stops to make the end of the race. This is one thing that's going to make a difference. He's in front right now, but without pit stops.
Well, I think you're right, Bobby. He made his last stop on the 120th lap, while most of the cars at the front of the order stopped on lap 139.
So sometimes it looks a little deceiving on the scoring, so we had to explain that a little bit.
Yeah, but it depends on yellows, doesn't it?
It certainly does. In fact, we're trying to figure out the pit strategies, but we're also thinking some of them need a yellow, some of them really don't want one right now.
Ari Landijk is in there running behind Gordon as Rahal still tries to get around Davy Jones.
Rahal desperate now to get by Jones because he's got Gordon right on his tail. A very good battle for position.
And he's beginning to lose track of Gugelmin, is now pulled 10 seconds ahead of Rahal, on board with Gordon.
This is where you need nerves of steel. A guy coming up behind you, a slower car ahead of you that you need to get by, but you can't get yourself forced into pushing too hard and making a mistake.
Rahal waved at Robbie Gordon, waved him past, and Gordon comes around Rahal. Gordon still very much on the charge.
Let's go for the program here. Let's go.
That surprises me. Why would Rahal have waved Gordon by in a battle for position? He could have made his life much, much harder, quite sportingly. I mean, that was funny.
Made no sense down here either, Sam.
Yeah, could there be trouble aboard Rahal's car? You know, he couldn't get by Davy Jones, Bobby. What do you think?
He's been looking good down here. I don't see any problems. He goes by my space in turn 2.
He has been running a low line off the corners. We'll keep an eye on Bobby Rahal. As the leaders come off of the 4th turn, Vassar is still the leader. Villeneuve is 2nd. Goodyear is 3rd.
Oh, here
Rahal
Rahal
trying to challenge with Gordon. Boy, almost gets into the side of him, though.
What's going on here?
Rahal waves him past and then comes back to race with him.
I wonder if there was something momentarily wrong for Rahal that's picked up.
Could have been some communication problems from the pits to Rahal. That's the only thing I can figure out.
You mean you think he didn't know he was racing Gordon for position?
That's what I think, Sam. There's no other reason, because look at him, go at him now.
Oh, very definitely racing now as Rahal tries to stick the nose inside of Gordon.
Rahal's pretty wide.
Rahal got real wide off at 3.
That's
now
what happens. That's what happens when your nose wings don't get enough bite. You see, Rahal was close behind Gordon there, and he didn't get enough bite. And he almost understeered out into the wall.
Running in dirty air is what it's called.
So for the time being, this battle is broken off between Gordon and Rahal. The leader of the race is still Jimmy Vassar.
This car's just for now.
Jimmy Vassar expected in for a pit stop shortly now. He's out of sequence with the rest of the leaders. Average speed at 158 miles an hour coming up. 8 leaders, 15 lead changes. Cars out of the race. The first one's, of course, owing to that first turn accident. 45 laps to go. This is out of race at 150 laps. Paul Tracy with that broken throttle, the most recent retirement. Gugelmin, Bobby Rahal continue their battle. Robbie Gordon is just ahead of him. We'll watch this fight. Dale Fabi heads for the pits, as does the leader of the race, Jimmy Vassar. So Vassar turns down onto pit road on the 155th lap. And the new leader is Jack Villeneuve. See the debris on the front wing there? Jerry Punch is right there.
Should be a routine pit stop for Jimmy Vasser. Now, he pitted last on lap 120, so they made it 35 or make it 36 laps. He will have to pit once more. They hold him in for fuel, and now the car slowly moves away. 17.2 seconds for the leader, Jimmy Vasser.
Yeah, another thing is any time that a wing has paper wrapped around it like you saw his, that portion of the wing is no longer a very good aerodynamic device, or it doesn't push the car into the ground anymore.
So Jacques Villeneuve picks up the lead of the race once again. Let's go down to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, here's the way it's unfolding for the cars that are running presently first and second, Jacques Villeneuve and Scott Pruitt. Villeneuve, according to Team Green, is real close, but they are going to try and make it on one final stop. They say they could be running on as little as fumes on the last lap here at the Indy 500. The same will be said for the Firestone tired Pat Patrick car. They're coming in, believe this, on lap 170, and then they're going the distance. Pruitt presently shown in second spot.
I'll tell you what, though, what a terrific story this is with the car that went 2 laps behind. Right now, he'd be 2 laps ahead of the race were it not for that penalty. There's Scott Pruitt on Firestone tires.
Pruitt did 10,000 miles of testing last year as part of the Firestone program. We saw that piece that focused on the commercial aspects of making the right tire ever since Firestone announced they were getting back in the business, and you see Scott just ripped by the Menards there. They have really faded, but the dealers have been literally salivating, according to an article in USA Today. Sales have jumped 20% last year and another 20% this year, so racing really affects the economy, Paul.
What about Mauricio Gugelmin, Robbie Gordon's strategy? Gordon is now in 4th, Gugelmin is 5th. Gary Gerald?
Well, Paul, there's not near the optimism here that we heard from the Villeneuve camp with Jack Arute. We asked Derek Walker, how much yellow would you need to make it in one more stop? Because they pitted on 139, they'd have 61 laps to go. He shook his head, said, we would need a lot. Gugelmin's camp remains optimistic. They're still hoping that there'll be yellow, that they could do it in one more. Remember, we had the early reports about their great fuel economy and fuel mileage. They're going to push it to the max, but we think here it's going to take 2 stops for both of those contenders.
On board with Rahal, Gugelmin has his hands full with Bobby Rahal. Rahal lined up just behind him, has been trying him almost every corner.
Remember Rahal's great drive last year, Paul, where he came up from the back of the grid to 3rd. We're seeing something very like that, a combination of patience, fox-like skills.
Wow,
you can watch right there as Rahal came out of that turn. He got way wide. He almost hit the wall, and Wright got past. Now, that's what happens sometimes when you get the dirty air. Bobby Rahal's definitely been having some problems.
Not a pass for position, now. That was Arie Luyendyk, who is running in 13th place right now, started 2nd in the middle of the front row. Now we expect the leader of the race to pit very shortly. There's the pit board going out. But you never know. You never know at Indy, because not only do they have that board, they have 2-way radio, and maybe sometimes, Sam, don't they put a board out hoping that the competition will read it?
I think since Bobby Unser has retired, there's less and less of that.
Yeah, they don't do that. I promise you guys, they're serious right now.
So you were the last one, Bobby?
I was the last of the innocent cheaters, I suppose.
Oh, right.
A major admission here. We've now moved into the last 100 miles of the 500-mile race.
Villeneuve just 24 years old, just reflecting on Villeneuve today. Bobby, what a great day it has been for this man to make up that lost ground and to be running in a position to win the race.
That's just what I started to say, Sam. One of the biggest stories today is that young man leading that blue and white car. There's Scott Pruitt, though, taking a run at him, but just to think, he got a 2-lap penalty. We almost rode him off, and now he's leading the race.
First 3 cars running right together. Pit stops are due just any old time now for these cars at the front of the order, especially for Jack, as he leads Scott Pruitt down the backstretch.
They talk about Jack entertaining offers from Formula One. Of course, his dad was a great Formula One driver for Ferrari. He was killed in the early 1980s. It'll be interesting to see whether Jacques makes that move or stays here in IndyCar racing.
Look at Pruitt as he takes the lead, and the yellow comes out.
Wow.
Look what that does. That means that the pits close. We've got Davy Jones into the wall. It means that as he was going for the pits, Pruitt was able to pick up the lead from Villeneuve. Then Villeneuve saw the pits were closed and veered back out onto the racetrack.
Will he have enough fuel?
But a good call.
Will he have enough fuel, though, now?
Let's go to Jack Arute.
Sam, you're exactly right. We saw it happen one time before with Scott Pruitt. Their concern on Team Green is they wanted to run this one as far as they could. They cannot afford to have the pits closed for more than one lap because they have to come in and take on methanol as soon as possible.
Unbelievable. There you see them ready to refuel the car and unable to do so with the pits closed.
So they wait at Team Green, hoping that they will get this field gathered up quickly and Jack can get into the pits. Remember, that was his problem before, but they don't have him gathered up. The pits are still closed. You see the sign, no pit. Now, he is at reduced speed. That's going to help him a little bit.
That helps him, and if this works out, of course, that projects him that much closer to the end of the race.
Another thing you guys want to keep in mind, these fuel tanks, the pickups on them are made to pick up the fuel when they have centrifugal force going around the track. Sometimes when you're running slow, they quit picking up fuel. Let's hope they don't get the air now.
All right, here's the view down from the blimp. That's Villeneuve in the front of the order here. Now watch, he started down into the pits. When he slowed down, Pruitt took over the lead. Then he saw the yellow and stayed out on the track.
Boy, was that quick thinking.
Boy, quick thinking.
I think the officials are going to have to do some rethink on some of these pit stop no's.
Now here is a situation with Davey, who just got high coming off at 2, right in front of the VIP suites and up against the wall. He appears to be okay as a result. Here's another view of it.
He had, Davy Jones did a very decent race going for himself. You've seen him able to hold off Bobby Rahal. You see him now above the groove there in the center of your screen. He's in deep trouble already, I would think, wouldn't you, Bobby?
Yes,
no chance.
Once you get that far into the gray, where you're past the apex on the corner, near the exit, that's it.
All right, so the pits are now open, and we expect Jack Villeneuve to head down into the pits.
There he is.
In fact,
I can see him in there. He's about the 3rd car in line.
Well, what you have is all 3 of the leaders heading into the pits. Pruitt, Goodyear, Villeneuve.
Whoa. You have a situation where all the leaders come in. Keep in mind, gentlemen, that Team Green 2 years in a row have put Jacques Villeneuve and their team atop the pit stop competition here. Then earlier this year, Team Green, with Jacques Villeneuve at the wheel, Jack came home victorious after a brilliant set of pit stops, put him back out in the lead in Miami. So this team knows what it takes in terms of pit stops and pit stop strategy to make themselves a winning contender. They clean off the debris, they hold him as long as they possibly can, taking on as much fuel as possible. And the engine stalls. They try to refire it as Adrian Fernandez tries to come into his pit.
And Goodyear gets out ahead. A traffic jam there right at the pit as Villeneuve tries to get away under this caution. There he is, finally rolling out. Bobby Rahal rolls out behind him. Boy, another bad problem for Villeneuve, who has not had the best of luck today, but seems to be able to outdrive it. Under the caution, Robbie Gordon picked up the lead. They just called him into the pits. Part of the strategy, trying to milk the yellow just as long as they can. Second place, Mauricio Gugelmin came in as well. There he is. So both of these cars still under the yellow. Gugelmin rolls away first. Now Robbie Gordon rolls away, but not quick enough.
We'll get him.
You heard Derek Walker say, don't worry about it, we'll get him. Now let's go back to the pit stops at the start of this yellow. As Scott Pruitt, the 20 car, will live up the top of the screen.
The red and white one right there.
Well, keep an eye as Scott Pruitt's team, Patrick Racing, nice job. Rolled him away and gave him the lead of the race. And then Goodyear came out, and then Villeneuve. And Bobby Rahal came out behind Villeneuve. So now behind the Corvette pace car, the field is lined up once again. And the leaderboard at this moment is showing Jim Vassar at the top of the order, followed by Pruitt, Goodyear, Jack Villeneuve drops to 4th. Bobby Rahal, Raul Boisel, Rahal's teammate. They run 5th and 6th. Eliseo Salazar, Christian Fittipaldi, Gugelman now down to 9th place, followed by Gordon Sullivan and Ari Leyendijk with a Menard engine still in this fight. Let's go to Jack.
Well, probably one of the greatest stories so far, and we've been on top of it, is Scott Pruitt going without a tire change. Al Spire from Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. It's the soft compound, and yet he elected not to change tires. He's got new ones on now, but 2 whole stops.
Oh, yeah, 2 whole stops. You know, he went a lap down earlier in the race because the pits were closed. He ran out of fuel by going almost a double stint on the tires because of the exceptional wear we've got. Even on the soft compound, it's got him back on the lead wrap, right up in the lead, and we've got our fingers crossed.
How could you assess your performance so far coming back to Indy?
Oh, it is just tremendous. We could never have expected to be here late in the race. 2 cars up in the top 3, tires performing flawlessly, wear rate way above what we expected, and running right with the leaders. It is just fantastic.
You know, guys, should they win, you'll have to get him a Valium patch to keep him on the ground.
We should be going green next time around, and that man, Jimmy Vasser, in the number 12 SDP car, will be the leader of the race. He'll be followed by Scott Pruitt, and then Scott Goodyear, and then Jack Villeneuve in 4th, Bobby Rahal 5th, Raul Boisel in 6th, Eliseo Salazar in 7th.
Vasser finished 4th here last year, but he, like several other drivers in this race, are having the best race that they have ever had. We're seeing great drives by a number of drivers who have not really been headliners in IndyCar racing.
Now let's also keep in mind that the pit stops, they could probably make it 1 more, but it's got to be a flat-out race all the way to the end, and that means, will the guys run in their cruise gear? Will they turn the boost all the way up to maximum? That uses more fuel, so we have to kind of follow along and watch their concepts.
Just 32 laps to go. Now's the time when the crew will turn them totally loose and say, race it on your own. As Jimmy Vasser picks up the pace, Matsuda heads into the pits as they come back to green. Vasser passes him. Pruitt moves to the inside. That's Goodyear sliding in just behind them. Pruitt can't get it done. Drops 2 wheels below the line onto the rumble strip. Battle for the lead at Indianapolis. On the backstretch. Pruitt still tries to close, but Vasser now gets up a full head of steam and is rolling.
Jimmy Vasser fought off Pruitt terrifically there. What style, Paul. He just knifed back across, had none of Pruitt's effort to pass him.
Dan, it looked to me like that might have been a tie right down on the apex of that corner.
Boy, but what a chance he took. See that car there, number 9, 5th place? They're going to give him the black flag. Excessive speed on the last pit stop. So Rahal will have to make a stop-and-go penalty. He was going 109. Supposed to go not more than 100. Now let's go to the pitch, Jerry Punch.
Checking in on what Jimmy Vasser's going to do, guys. Here's the scenario in the Vasser pit. I talked with Tom Anderson. They pitted on lap 156.
Whoa, another car into the wall, and it's Vasser. Vasser into the wall.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
Every Indianapolis 500 has its own character. There's his crew.
Disbelieving. He had such a fine ride going.
From feast to famine. That shows what happens, the pressure that you get from the sprint car race to the end. And that's what this race has worked itself out to be.
Watching to make sure Jimmy Vasser's okay. The rescue crews are already there. He takes off the wheel.
He's disgusted, Paul. He's really disgusted, but I think he's all right.
By the way, going back one accident to that of Davy Jones, he climbed out of the car, went in for a routine check at the medical center. Debris all up and down the track now from Jimmy Vasser's impact with the wall. Let's take a look at it. Look how high he is there.
Completely out of the groove. There he is, kaboom. He just went into the turn too fast, it looks like, got out of the groove. Once you get out there, especially when the groove is very dirty this late in the race, that's where all the little rubber deals off the tires have gone, all the little trash. Look at him going out there, kaboom, right into the wall there. It's just too loose out there. The guys have to stay in the groove.
So the leader of the race crashes, Jimmy Vasser, as he was anticipating to stop. Scott Pruitt picks up the lead. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
We're with Tom Anderson, the team manager for Ganassi Racing, and Vasser. I tell you what, Tom, what happened out there?
So like Jimmy just said, he got it up, and I guess Pruitt was down underneath him, and Jimmy was up on the high side, and he got the right side tires in the gray, and she just wouldn't hold on, so it got away from him.
He made a heck of a move on the restart to hold on to his position. You guys were ready to roll the dice on that fuel and possibly try to steal one here.
Yeah, we kind of jumped out of sequence a couple of sessions ago, and we were playing our own card game, but it looks like it didn't pan out today.
That's Tom Anderson, the team manager for Jimmy Vasser.
So Vasser is the leader of the race, catches the wall out of the race. Caution is on once again at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Scott Pruitt will be the new leader.
World of Sports.
Back in Indianapolis, here's a situation that set up this yellow with Jimmy Vasser running in the lead, being chased by Scott Pruitt, Bobby Unser.
Yes, you can see Pruitt behind. There's the car, the red one. Vasser, Pruitt, getting a draft. Moving up on him, moving up, getting a good draft, working back and forth. Now he goes for the pass right down the bottom. Good, clean pass. Good, smart pass by Pruitt.
And that, of course, put Vasser into the wall. This is from Scott Goodyear's car. There they are just ahead of you. You can see that Vasser getting way high after the pass. Catches the wall. Goodyear goes into second place. And Jimmy Vasser, not very happy with this. He apparently didn't think it was a clean pass. He wanted to wait for Scott Pruitt as he came around.
I think he's wrong there, Paul. He's looking for an excuse. He's anxious at the end of the day. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
We are in the Ganassi pits with Chip Ganassi's partner, Joe Montana. Joe, first let me ask you, what about this spectacle today, the Indy 500? How are you enjoying yourself?
Oh, been having a great time. And, you know, it's a great learning experience for me and also having a lot of fun with it. Chip and with Target and everyone, it's just been great. Jennifer and I, and we were having a blast. Can't wait for the next one.
Now, you almost had a shot at victory lane if Vasser could hang on, but that incident a moment ago, he was not a happy camper when he climbed out of that car.
He didn't look very happy, but we couldn't really tell what happened here. But we got one of the guys on the way back to the hospital. He looks like he's okay. I hope that he is. We still got a car running with Brian, so we still got our hopes in there.
Well, the hopes are still up here, but however, Brian Hurd, his car, has come to rest in the pits and is now shut off. Paul?
Well, still under yellow now. Scott Pruitt is the leader. Bobby Rahal was assessed to stop and go under this yellow flag. So Scott Pruitt is the leader, followed by Goodyear and Villeneuve.
The 79th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Craftsman. 2200 hand tools. Made in America, guaranteed forever. Only at Sears. Cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place. GTE. With GTE, it's amazing what we can do together. And Cadillac and your Cadillac dealer, creating a higher standard.
The Chevrolet Corvette pace car already accelerating as we're ready to go back to green flag racing. It'll be a 24-lap sprint to the finish. Everybody's made their stop. Shouldn't be another reason to head into the pits. It's Scott Goodyear out in front, or it's Scott Pruitt out in front. Scott Goodyear right behind him. Jack Villeneuve in third, and Raul Boisel is fourth, followed by Christian Fittipaldi and Eliseo Salazar. And here we go. This should be a run to the 500th mile. As immediately Goodyear tries to make a move and gets it done as they cross the line.
Pruitt drops right into his slipstream.
He absolutely drafted him. I saw it coming. He laid for him. Scott Pruitt was slow on the gas. What a better thing. You can bet Pat Patrick is going straight in the air right now.
Goodyear has the more experience, especially in 500 milers of the two. Of course, he's won 2 500 milers. Pruitt's best finish here, a 10.
So Scott Goodyear, the Honda power, moves into the front.
Both men have crew chiefs urging them on that have won the race. Jim McGee, representing Scott Pruitt, has won it 3 times. Steve Horn for Scott Goodyear has won it once, back for Rahal in 1986.
Everybody has to understand these cars don't accelerate the full speed equally, so any run that you can get another car at a start is going to give you like a 10-mile-an-hour gain at the end of the straightaway.
I think that's one of the key differences too, Bobby. You're looking at 2 different engine packages here that accelerate at different rates. That may have also helped Scott Goodyear.
Remember, that Honda turns more RPM than the Ford does. The Honda is leading right now. The Ford is running to second. Both cars are Firestone, but the Honda turns more RPM, which means it gets more wheel torque than the other one does.
From time to time, you get a feeling for all the debris that's on the course. Something like that could pop into the front of one of these coolers, one of the radiators on the car, and that could let an engine go. Look how dirty it is up there off of turn 1.
But you can bet you that Scott Pruitt is thinking of everything he can do. He doesn't have much time left. The difference between winning and second place is everything.
Goodyear's 24-year tire winning streak here on the line right now with Firestone, as you said, Bobby, running 1-2.
We watch the leader. Third place is Villeneuve, despite a 2-lap penalty very early on in the race.
223 miles an hour last lap. Awesome.
Those are the fastest laps run thus far.
Scott Goodyear, who did not have a ride at the beginning of this season, picking up here with the Tasman team. This is his first race of this year.
Now remember, Scott Pruitt, following Scott Goodyear there, is running in dirty air. He's trying to figure out a way to pass. He's going to try low, high, everything and going. I'm getting really excited myself.
Battle at the front of the field. That bright yellow car, number 24, that's Scott Goodyear. He's the leader of the race. The red, white, and blue car directly behind him, the 20 car, that is Scott Pruitt, first and second. Goodyear, of course, a part-time driver this year, has won 2 500s, both of those at Michigan. Scott Pruitt spent last year testing the Firestone tires just so he could be ready for this run this year. Third place is the 27 car of Jack Villeneuve. And remember that Goodyear, as we showed you right at the start of the show, was second in the closest finish ever here at Indianapolis behind Al Unser Jr., 43 thousandths of a second.
You can watch that Scott Goodyear zigzag trying to break the draft for Scott Pruitt, but Pruitt stays right behind him. Wherever he goes, he stays in his draft.
20 laps to go.
This is a straight fight to the finish. 20 laps to go. 2 evenly matched cars. 2 great drivers, both with high expectation.
But Sam, what does history tend to show us?
Well, of course, it points to Scott Goodyear's experience in matters like this. You just mentioned the fact that he came up just that bit short to little Al 4 years ago.
What it also will tell us is that there is a good chance that the leader here at lap 19 may not be the leader at lap 200, the 500th mile. On the front stretch again. Pruitt closes. Pruitt makes a move, comes to the inside.
Pruitt is probably sitting there tuning his valve or his blower pressure just so it doesn't set the pop-off valve off. Get maximum horsepower. And I know he's already running in his race gear or his fast gear.
Scott Pruitt took all of his life savings back in 1988, bought himself an IndyCar ride, rented a ride at Long Beach, made quite an impression, got a regular ride, and then in 1990 he had a terrible crash, almost ended his career. Many people thought he wouldn't be able to walk. He fought back from that, and now you see him here.
And just remember, Scott Goodyear's been through this with little Al already at the end of the race. He's thinking, what can little Al to beat me? And he's going to be doing the same things.
Scotty's one of the nicest drivers here, Scotty Pruitt. 2 Scotts here. Pruitt, during the Gulf War, we went out on the carrier, the Theodore Roosevelt, and he really appreciated the time to go out there. We just noticed in the news this week that carrier has been sent back to the Adriatic. They're big race fans, though I know that they're maybe doing the ship in circles, grabbing the satellite just to watch this, and they've got to be cheering on for Pruitt.
Tell you how good Pruitt is. While he was testing the Firestone tires last year, that was his season, he did some Trans Am racing and became the Trans Am champion, sort of in his spare time.
Very gusty out here in turn 2 right now, really gusty.
There's traffic just ahead now, so traffic is going to enter into the equation here very shortly. 16 laps to go. Bobby is Pruitt grabs the wall. Got a little high, back through the inside.
I told you the gusting was really bad. You just can't help it. The wind just all of a sudden came up, and I'm sure that's what got Scott Pruitt.
Villeneuve moves to second place as Pruitt catches the wall, and the yellow light comes on again with 16 laps to go. Pat Patrick, He's had winners here. It won't happen today, but he was so close.
The gusting out here, Paul, must have gotten up to 30, 35 miles an hour just before that happened.
Windsock over here on the front straightaway is standing straight out on top of the scoring pylon right now.
Bobby, he was having to really drive the wheels off that car to stay with Scott Goodyear, wouldn't you say?
We knew that it was going to be what we call a trophy dash right to the end. I can't knock what Scott Pruitt did or tried. He tried the best he could. I really think he got caught by a real heavy gust of wind.
So Scott Pruitt, with 16 laps to go, catches the wall. Let's watch for him.
Oh, he just came through there, and you can just see he almost hit the whole wall sideways, or hit the car sideways, right almost even. The rear end was out just a little bit. It's just a gust of wind, I'm sure.
He tried everything he could to catch it. Once he got the wall, he was totally out of control, cut the gearbox off the back of the car as well as the rear suspension, and did some damage to the fence there. Here's one more view of it, Sam.
He slides out at the back. Watch the tail of his car get a little wide here. He tries to fight the car to steer into the slide. It's too late. He runs out of track.
Almost verbatim what happened to Emerson Fittipaldi last year. Almost the same thing, the same way.
Except in turn 2 for Scott Pruitt. And there he is as he catches the wall and slides on along it. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Pat Patrick, this is not the way you wanted your Indianapolis 500 to end, but did Scott say what happened?
He's racing with Scott Goodyear and lost it and hit the wall. Scott is fine.
How about you? What are the emotions for you? It's been a roller coaster today.
Well, it's been a good race. We got in trouble with USAC officiating and got us, behind a lot. We made that up on our pit strategy, and Scott drove a great race. I just hope something broke on the car.
Let's check in with Jerry Punch.
Actually, it's on the other end. Gary Gerald here, Jack, and Steve Horn. We were asking him about his concerns. He's talking with one of the USAC officials. Steve, now, how do you play this, going the distance, and what concerns? You mentioned the car's been running a little hot.
It's probably been running 5 degrees hotter than we'd like, but I think it's okay. I think that last accident, Scott Goodyear nearly lost it himself. There was oil in turn 2, and I think that's what got Pruitt. Scott Goodyear said he nearly lost it as well.
Now, Villeneuve, I believe, has the fastest lap of the race thus far. Have you got enough muscle to hold him off?
I think we're about to find out.
How about that New Zealand charm that you've been carrying this weekend? You got it right here?
Here it is. I hope it works.
There's the sock. All right, Jerry.
And Jimmy Vassar just stepped out of the hospital. Jimmy, first of all, good to see you're okay, but what happened out there?
Pruitt went in on the inside quite a bit later than I thought he would, but I had to give him a little room and got a little bit out in the marbles, this softer compound where everybody's tire wore this year. Offline is terrible marbles, and there was absolutely no grip, and I just slid straight up into the wall. So, Chip Ganassi team did a great job all day long, put me in a real best car I've ever had, best chance I had to win the Indy 500, and I feel bad for my sponsors, Target and STP, but hopefully we'll be back with them again next year.
That's Jimmy Vassar. Paul?
Yeah, sounds like an accurate description. The winds are gusting over 30 miles an hour now, as we'll come back for the closing lap with Scott Goodyear in front. Indianapolis under caution, 187 laps complete. The Goodyear Blimp Spirit from Akron, Ohio. And cameraman Richard Morkel have provided the great aerial coverage that we have had here today. She's still up there, and the sky is still nice and blue. They've really lucked out with the weather here today. Tony George has inherited his grandfather, Tony Homan's luck with running a nice, clean, clear race.
Well, we're getting gusts over here over 35 miles an hour now.
All right. Here's one more look at the situation with Scott Pruitt. He's the car there on the right edge of the screen. He's chasing Scott Goodyear coming into turn 2. You can see, Bobby, he was in trouble on the approach into the apex of the turn.
Well, that's what happens when you have that bad wind, but boy, it's a bad wreck.
Second place is Jack Villeneuve. Here's Jack Arute.
And the second place team manager and owner is Barry Green. Does he have anything for the run to first place?
Well, Jack, we're going to wait and see now. I mean, we're pretty excited about being back up here after our fight to get back after being 2 laps down early in the race. The whole team, the players' team worked real hard.
Well, what do you tell them? What do you tell them before they drop the green flag?
Well, we've had a good talk to him. He knows who's in front of him, who's behind him, and he's just hopefully the track
the track will come to us. He's getting ready for the start now, Jack, so I'm going to go back and join him.
He doesn't have any lucky socks, guys. He's just got his fingers crossed.
And look at this. The first 4 cars are right together on the track, approaching the 500th mile. All 4 are right together. There's Goodyear, that bright yellow car. That blue and white car. That's the second place car. Now remember, Scott Goodyear against Al Unser Jr. in '92 by just inches. He lost to Little Al. Now this may be his day. That was the closest finish in history. Villeneuve, on the other hand, let's not forget, was Rookie of the Year last year and finished second. So there they are lined up, first through fourth. It will be a sprint to the finish. 12 laps to go. They're going to keep them out. 1 more lap. The crowd, for the most part, on its feet. 4th and 5th are right there as well. Rahal, Gugelmin, as the emergency vehicles are trying to clear the race course now so we can get back to green flag racing. Boy, this is going to be something as we go to the final 12 laps. Later this summer here on ABC Sports, NASCAR returns here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jeff Gordon will defend his title at the Brickyard 400. That's live Saturday, August 5th, here on ABC Sports. All right, now, here's the situation. We have everybody that matters in this race, the first 4, right in contact with one another. There they are. Scott Goodyear in front. It'll be 10 laps to go. When we come back, just a simple 25 miles when we come back to green flag racing, a sprint to the finish. So far, the question about the engine, the Honda in Goodyear's car, has been answered. It has been very powerful thus far. Competition between the tire companies, again, those questions being answered with Goodyear on Firestones here in front. And talking about wide open competition, it's been unbelievable here today. Scott Goodyear may be on his way to a win at the Indianapolis 500. We should go green after this.
Paul, when you asked me to handicap the 2 drivers before, Scott Goodyear, Scott Pruitt, we talked about their relative experience. And in fact, it was the least experience of the 2 that had trouble. Once again, to compare them in experience, it's Scott Goodyear with 6 years of racing here, Jacques Villeneuve in his 2nd.
So a veteran, a sophomore, and 2 rookies. There's Leslie, Scott's wife, as she watches on. They live now here on the north side of Indianapolis. He is Canadian. If he can win, be the first Canadian to do so. But remember, Villeneuve is also Canadian. And Salazar, then Fittipaldi.
Blew the base car right off.
No, that can't be right.
Can't do that.
Base car was too slow, Paul. He needed to get a run.
But they gave him the green flag anyway. Dwayne Sweeney is waving the green flag. Goodyear got a run on the pace car.
I think it was only a normal deal. The pace car just wouldn't accelerate. He just went too slow.
Jacques Villeneuve was not anticipating that. And as a result, Goodyear got a good run on him. Now that's Arie Luyendyk that's moving in there. He is not part of this battle. Luyendyk runs in 8th place, a lap down. But now he pokes his nose into the fight.
That was a savage setback for Villeneuve.
Scott Goodyear going into turn 3 had to get moving. He couldn't wait any longer. Otherwise, the same thing would have happened to him that happened to Scott Pruitt before.
And Rahal got around Salazar on that restart as well. And that puts Rahal up into the fight.
The green car in the center of the screen is Eliseo Salazar, who's running in 3rd.
Now that's Christian.
No, that's Christian Fittipaldi. My apologies.
Rahal right behind him. Salazar sitting
has
just
been
behind
displaced.
Rahal.
Yes, also in a green car. Has dropped back suddenly.
9 laps to go.
Wow, Fittipaldi in trouble in that car for a second. The track conditions, Bobby, must be terrible.
They are. They're slippery, but remember, the gust comes up and goes down. If we one lap we have gust, next we don't.
Oh, no. The officials are now reporting they're going to show the black flag to Scott Goodyear, the 24 car. You're on board with him now. They're going to show the black flag to the leader of the race. Stop and go penalty because he passed the pace car before the green. Scott Goodyear is about to lose the Indy 500 on a penalty. A black flag, stop and go.
And
Look at Leslie.
and Jacques Villeneuve may be about to win it because of a penalty, despite the fact, you see him there in that blue and white car, despite the fact he himself suffered what appered to be a death blow penalty, a 2-lap penalty much earlier in the race. So the story of this race, Bobby, no question about it, has been the role that the officials have played in the race.
It's been a roll of penalties this entire race from start to finish, and it's just sad to see races end like this.
A Canadian has never won at Indianapolis. There are 2 leading. One is due in the pits to acknowledge the black flag any moment now.
This will so propel Jacques Villeneuve's career forward. You will see Formula One teams make million dollar offers, huge offers for his talents for next year. Will he go? That's up still in the air.
Villeneuve in front. Fittipaldi. Christian Fittipaldi runs in second. 7 laps to go. There's the black flag being given to the leader.
And we talked about the changing of the guard. Here is a sophomore, second-year man running first, and a rookie running second.
But a really good man right there. Villeneuve has really done a good job. Penalty down 2 laps today. Now leading the race, could possibly win.
Unbelievable drive. Last time that a driver won in his second start, should Villeneuve do it, was Rick Mears, 1979. Is that a prediction of what this driver may be? Scott Goodyear is ignoring the black flag now. He has not yet turned in. Christian Fittipaldi, he runs second. A rookie. Ray Hall is third.
He's probably having a hard time believing it. If I were him, I would too. It's such a sad thing.
But it can only add to the penalty if he doesn't answer it, doesn't Bobby? He can't really stay out there hoping that they'll change their minds.
Oh, you're certainly right there, Paul. According to them, he did break the rules. It's just sad to see something like that. Pace car should never be figured in to a race win.
Jacques Villeneuve running at 207.4 miles an hour on the last lap. 5 to go. Car 27, the number his father carried in Formula One. That's Arie Luyendyk staying right there with him. Luyendyk is a lap behind the lead, running in 8th.
Villeneuve knows that he's not in the contest with Luyendyk, so he's not going to pay that much attention to it. He's more worried about keeping his car on the track, worried about the wind gust, things like that right now.
Now, despite the fact that the black flag has been displayed, they've not yet taken an action with regard to Scott Goodyear. The USAC computers have been showing him at the top of the order, but now they're beginning to flash a warning on their computers that they are updating the field and moving Goodyear out of the lead of the race. The leader is now officially Jacques Villeneuve with 4 laps to go. Second is Fittipaldi. Bobby Rahal runs in third. Salazar is fourth. Gugelmin is fifth. And Goodyear has been moved down to 7th place. Rahal chasing Fittipaldi. Battle for second. 3 to go.
Rahal, too, battling the vicissitudes of officialdom today. Coming back from that stop and go, which he was luckily able to make under the yellow, now battling for second. Fittipaldi on the left in that car, which if you look straight down on it from the top, looks like a Brazilian flag. If you look straight down on that green and blue and yellow car.
Eliseo Salazar, the 7 car from Chile, now closing on Rahal. He's in the fight, too.
Also got to keep in mind, these guys have tires that are not quite as sharp. They've run these cars right now just as hard as they can be run. So adhesion to the track is a little bit scary sometimes.
There's Salazar in that yellow and green car going by. An experienced road racer, Eliseo Salazar, coming out of IMSA, driving for Dick Simon here. A very, very fine performance for him today. 40 years old, a very veteran driver, but a rookie here at Indianapolis.
No one has ever come from 2 laps down to win the Indy 500. The youngest winner thus far in the history of the race was Troy Ruttman. Now, Jacques Villeneuve will be looking at a white flag and one final lap, a final 2.5 miles. An unbelievable run. The story will be told that Jacques Villeneuve went 2 laps down on a penalty and fought his way back to the front of the field, across the South Chute for the final time in front of Bobby Unser.
Going by us, and he's looking really good, Paul. No problems.
Arie Luyendyk staying right there, wants to get in that winner's picture. Jacques Villeneuve on the backstretch.
The magnitude of his achievement. Listen to the roar of the crowd. Back from 2 laps down. Only his 2nd year.
One more turn. The first Canadian on his way to winning the Indianapolis 500. Jack Villeneuve on the home stretch. And the 79th Indy 500 has been won by Jack Villeneuve as Arie Luyendyk screams by on the outside. The young Canadian has taken the win. There's 2nd place, Christian Fittipaldi. 3rd place is Bobby Rahal. Eliseo Salazar finishes in 4th. Robbie Gordon comes across the line in 5th place. And look at the despair of Leslie Goodyear. The jump on the pace car cost Goodyear the 500. Let's go to Gary.
Barry Green, tell me the emotion of coming from 2 laps down to win the Indy 500.
What a fight. What a driver. I mean, geez.
Have you ever seen anything like this in your long career?
We just won the first 505-mile race, huh? I got to get down to Victory Circle.
What was the thought when the black flag came out for Scott Goodyear?
You know, a bit of bad communication maybe on our part. We should have made him aware he's in P1, but we're going to get down there and enjoy it. Thanks, guys.
Savor it. Barry Green's on the run to victory lane. Jack will be there momentarily.
Christine Horn consoles Leslie Goodyear. Christine is the wife of the team owner, Steve Horn. So close, and yet so far away. This was perhaps even closer than the closest finish ever. There's the restart as he screamed past the Corvette pace car, and once he was passed, Villeneuve actually slowed down, kept it legal, almost cost him the position as Fittipaldi moved on him. So the race has been won, and Jack Villeneuve is the winner.
There's a place where UV rays beat down so mercilessly they're nearly twice as intense as the sun's. No, it's not some blazing spot in the equator. It's the Dutch Boy Paint Testing Facility, where we test our exterior house paints to make sure they resist.
For all of you entered in the Valvoline Indy 500 Race to Riches contest who correctly guessed the winner, please call the 800 number now for your chance to win. Good luck.
So the 79th running of the Indy 500 is complete. A Canadian wins for the first time. Jack Villeneuve of Canada, car 27, is the winner of the Indianapolis 500. And right now, he's in winner's circle. Here's Jack Arute.
Taking the customary congratulations of everybody, the swig of milk. Jack, first of all, tell us about your emotions when you were 2 laps down with the penalty.
I was really, really unhappy, and I think I was swearing a little bit, actually, but no, I didn't know I was in the lead when the yellow fell, and all I was trying to do was get back to the pack, and everybody was flying back the pace car, and I didn't see it trying to stop me. So, you know, at that point, I thought, that's it. We can get a few points, but then the car was really, really good, and the team did a terrific job.
Let's talk about the team, because the teamwork on the pit crews and the pit stops, it was just incredible. They got you back in the hunt.
Yeah, the team did an unbelievable job. I stalled it in 2 pits and in 2 pit stops. And the first pit stop, I started to go before the refueling was done, and they just did an unbelievable job. And we talked with Barry and Tony during the run, and we worked on the car a little bit, and the car was really, really strong for the second half of the race.
And then the final restart.
Yeah, the final restart was, I stayed close to Scott Goodyear, and I knew my players Reynard would be strong for the last few laps. But then when we got close to the pace car, I hit the brakes, because you can't get by the pace car before it gets in the pit, and I knew he was going to get black flagged.
So let's talk about, too, your feelings having won the Indianapolis 500. Has it sunk in yet?
Oh, it's great. The first part of the race, I didn't think we could make it with the 2 laps down. And I tell you, I'm lucky to be with a great team, and everybody just worked hard. It's the best team out there, and I'm real lucky to be with them.
Will we see you back to defend your Indianapolis 500 title in 1996?
I don't know yet, but it sure would be a lot of fun.
Let's go back to the tower.
All right, so Jack Villeneuve takes the win. Let's go further down the pits. Gary Gerald.
Scott Goodyear has climbed out of the car, and Scott, I don't know how you put into words the emotions you must be experiencing right now. I'm sure you feel like you've won this race.
Well, it's quite disappointing to come down pit lane and get flagged on past victory circle. Actually, that was a bit of a surprise. I think
everybody throughout the world knows that who won this race, but this pace car scenario, I mean, I got caught on it the first time, and Pruitt almost hit it. The guy's definitely slowing down in turn 4, and by the time you get a rolling go and coming through 4, I'm not sure if they're slowing down or what they're doing, but by the time I was going past him, I saw the green light, so that's all I can tell you.
I know you haven't had much time to reflect on this disappointment. How does it compare to that close second-place finish to Al Unser Jr. a couple of years back?
Well, that was disappointing, and we were racing to the end, but this probably just is underneath me right now because I don't agree with what's going on here right now, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Did you see the green light? Did you have any feel for your relationship to the pace car when it went green?
When I was going past the pace car, the next light I looked up upon was green, and that's all I need to go by.
And then was there any, did you acknowledge the black flag at all? Was there any consideration when you were talking with Steve Horn?
Nope, none from my side whatsoever. And I was staying out because in my eyes it was perfect, and if I came in and we found out that I didn't make a mistake, then what are you going to do? You don't get it back.
Steve, is there any way that you will try to pursue this? Will there be a protest filed?
We have to look at the video. I think the key part of this is USAC have already reversed one decision today. Jacques Villeneuve did actually get a 2-lap penalty for passing the pace car already and has had that reversed. So I think USAC, we have to go to USAC and look at the videos. It's very clear what happened and who won this race. So we just have to get the decision reversed.
Now, you say that Villeneuve had it reversed. We thought it, and our picture seemed to indicate he made up those laps on the racetrack. You don't see it that way?
No, he had a 2-lap penalty and the decision was reversed by USAC to our understanding.
Well, race control is saying that they did not reverse that decision. We'll let you take that up with them. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Jack?
Well, the man that comes home, a tough drive today, and you seem not to be as pleased as you should be for this type of a finish.
Well, they black flagged us. And our telemetry showed us at 91 miles an hour, and they said 109 on the pit exit, which is just total balderdash. You know, it's amazing they'd ruin a race for that, but Miller car ran great all day long. Pit stops are great, even with me blowing one. My crew did a super job, and the car handled good, just wasn't quite great.
Now, what about the situation, you may remember it or may not, that you were running with Robbie Gordon, and all of a sudden it looked as if you waved Robbie Gordon by. What was that all about?
No, I didn't wave him by. I was asking him to go forward, you know, make sure we packed up.
Paul?
All right, so a lot of disappointment here at the conclusion of the 79th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. All right, let's update you on some of the drivers that were injured today. Stan Fox, still listed in serious condition, but is out of surgery at Methodist Hospital of Indiana. Scott Pruitt was taken to Methodist. They wanted to make sure that his chest was okay, and they gave him a chest x-ray. He's still there. Scott Sharp also went to Methodist, and he had bruises and contusions of his left arm. He has now been released. So the most serious accident of the day was right there on lap number 1. And Stan Fox got down into the grass. Looks really like something must have broken on that car. Almost head on into the wall. If we have any update on the condition of Stan Fox, we will give that update report during the Ladies Skins, which follows our coverage here at the Indianapolis 500-mile race. So next it is the J.C. Penney LPGA Skins game. The final results for the 79th running of the Indianapolis 500. Not official yet, but Jack Villeneuve is the winner. He's the guy sitting in the winner's circle. Goodyear tires on his car. Rookie Christian Fittipaldi in second, then Bobby Rahal, Salazar Gordon, and Mauricio Gulgerman rounds out the top 6. Then Ari Leyendijk, Teo Fabi, Danny Sullivan, Hiro Matsushita with a good run, Sam Pedri with a nice run, and Roberto Guerrero finishes unofficially in 12th. Brian Hurtis, Scott Goodyear, Hidesi Matsuda, Johansson, Brayton, fastest rookie Andrew Ribeiro. In 19th place, Scott Pruitt was running right there at the front toward the end. We told you, history tends not to favor a leader toward the end. So there they are, the unofficial results of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Now, let's go down to Christian Fittipaldi and Jerry Punch.
And Christian, you drove like Uncle Emerson today. Congratulations on a second-place finish.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy because it was a difficult month for me, especially the first week. We just couldn't get the car up to speed. And it was a long race today, and I think everything worked out right. I'm only a little bit upset because the car was perfect balance up to half race distance, and I had the same pace as the leaders, and then after that, I don't know for what reason, it was oversteery all the way through. But nevertheless, it was a fantastic race. Jacques did a fantastic job, and I think he really deserved to be up there.
Paul?
All right, next time we see you here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway will be for the Brickyard 400, the first Saturday of August. I'm Paul Page. So long for the 79th running of the Indy 500.